Well, here we go. Retro Raw 241.
Hideous!
January 5th, 1998, the first episode of 1998. Show opened with Steve Austin leading a camera crew backstage.
Talking about his pager.
That's a guess, by the way, because there was a light on Steve and nothing else, so I have no idea where the hell
I think they're actually in the parking lot.
Might have been.
Back.
Yeah.
It's so amazing we watch these shows, all these things we talk about, and the next thing you know, it's on television. We just were talking about pagers like two months ago because of the angle.
Yeah.
Where Rock got a page. Now, Steve Austin's talking about paging again. The technology.
There's a big thing in 1998.
Hey, think about this. Imagine in 19 years, when we're reviewing today's Raw. Can you imagine your life, Vinny? When you're 59 years old and you're reviewing 2015 and 2016 Raw. Have you ever thought about that for a moment? I just thought about it right now.
Honestly, no.
And it's horrifying.
It's a strange thought.
But my point is, can you imagine when we're 59 years old and it's going to be the year 2036 by my calculations. And we're going to be talking about these old Raws where we're making fun of pagers now. Look at this WWE nowadays where they're talking about all of this social media.
Oh my God.
And tweets. And already.
Hashtags.
Already. What was that fucking thing they...
Vine?
No, it wasn't Vine. What did they...
Oh, yeah.
It's already gone. It's already dead.
It was like Vine, but it was too long.
Yeah.
The overestimated...
Tout.
That was it, yes. The overestimated the attention span of people.
Tout is already out of business.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing this show in 2037 laughing about the idea of tout. Do you remember tout? Fuck, I barely remember tout. It was something they did. And they're going to be just going crazy about tout. All of this bullshit's going to be hilarious in 19 years. We're here laughing about pages. But yeah, he was paging.
So the point of this promo was he's going into the Royal Rumble. He knows everyone will be gunning for him in the Royal Rumble, so he is going to get them first. Farooq versus Ken Shamrock. Rock did not come out at first until Shamrock was taken out. And they played the angle from a few months back, or actually a long time back, when Shamrock was coughing up blood against Farooq. And so as soon as Shamrock got cut off here, he was selling like he could barely breathe, let alone fight back. So then Rock came out to watch. He gave instructions to Kama and D'Lo, who were confused, but they obeyed. And then when Shamrock started his comeback, Rock gestured to Kama, who reluctantly grabbed a chair. And to make a long story short, it was Farooq who ended up getting hit by the chair, and Shamrock finished him off with the belly-to-belly and ankle lock.
Now listen, as much as I ranted about this show, this was a very good little match and storyline here. Rock is trying to take over the nation. He came down to ringside, started directing traffic. And his directing of traffic caused the man in charge of the Nation of Domination to be beaten.
Yes.
Rock didn't give a shit.
Well, he did, but he was embarrassed by Farooq. Farooq failed with the Rock in the Rock's eyes.
Well, sure, but then he got in the ring to jaw-jack with Shamrock. He didn't care one bit about Farooq.
That's true. So Farooq confronted D'Lo and Kama, so what the fuck were you doing with that chair? Rock and Shamrock were having a stare down in the ring when Austin zoomed in out of nowhere and hit Shamrock and Rock with stunners.
Kama Mustafa's timing on the placement of this chair in the turnbuckle was impeccable. How he didn't kill Farooq with the chair hitting him in the face or the chin or whatever, it was good.
It was amazing because...
I don't want to hear about impeccable timing until we talk about these headbangers.
It was amazing because he was standing on the floor.
Right.
And obviously he's a big man, but he had to hold the chair through the ropes in the corner against the turnbuckles. And do this, throw it up there, mid-Irish whip, so the right guy got hit with it.
Right.
The other thing about Shamrock is it's amazing how fast he went from UFC guy in a WWF ring at the time to just another WWF guy to pretty good pro wrestler. It was a fast transition from those three things.
He was, but here's the thing. He was a pretty good pro wrestler the day he came in. But he was doing a UFC style of pro wrestling, which was at least different.
And he's quickly losing that.
They made him get rid of all that
over
stuff.
Now. He got the ankle lock and maybe a round kick once in a while.
They wanted him to be a normal professional wrestler, and it took him a while, but he has now figured it out. So they have successfully retrained Ken Shamrock, and it's not for the better.
They've put him in the cookie cutter.
Yes, he's now a fella.
Jim Cornette came out for a promo.
He's a big fella. I'm going to throw that in there.
Shamrock?
He is a big dude.
Yeah. Jim Cornette came out for a promo accompanied by 2 men in suits and a championship belt. Cornette said, I am on a mission to bring tradition and respect back to pro wrestling. At my own expense, I have flown in Howard Brody and Dennis Coralluzzo of the National Wrestling Alliance. This drew a mixed reaction of fans, by the way, who were WWF fans and had seen the NWA as the other guys for eternity. So Cornette lists all the great NWA champions of the past and then announces the winner of this next match will be crowned the new NWA North American champion.
All right, I got a question. So Cornette wants wrestling and tradition to come back to this company. He's brought in Howard Brody and Dennis Coralluzzo on his own dime, which I didn't buy for a second. And he's going to award the winner of this match the NWA North American title. And the match is Jeff Jarrett against Barry Windham.
Right.
So they have this match, and the NWA, all three of them, helps Jeff Jarrett become the champion.
Correct.
Why didn't they just award him the belt?
Fair question.
Why did they bother going to all this trouble?
Well, it's like we were talking about with the Horsemen on Sunday. You prefer Plan A is to win clean. Plan B is to cheat if necessary.
Huh.
So they wanted Jarrett to be champion, but they would have preferred if he had done it in a dominating fashion without any help.
I see.
Since he could not get that done on his own, they went to Plan B.
You know, this Barry Windham, we just watched him on Sunday. Mm-hmm. This is the same guy.
He got older and fatter.
He got older, he got fatter, he dyed his hair. Mm-hmm. Looks like his own father.
He actually does. In fact, if there's a shoot interview out there with him, and yeah, he is now Blackjack Mulligan.
It's funny because even though he was very fat and very old compared to his 1986 self, he was a pretty goddamn good worker.
I think the idea here was, keep in mind, this is Attitude Era WWF. And it's, as we shall see, it's all curse words and sexuality and terrible matches and shock gimmicks. And these guys went out there to have a pro wrestling match. I think the idea was that they would be put out there to die and get cemented as heels, all of them. But the match was too good. So fans were into it.
Whatever it was, it still wasn't as good as that Rick Martel match.
No. So Jarrett was given the belt, and he's posing and strutting, and Austin zooms in, stuns him, grabs a chair, and goes backstage.
We need to talk more about Austin's strut.
Yeah.
Austin did
Should I finger quote that?
He did the Fargo strut here. I've seen many, many, many people in my lifetime do this. Mm-hmm. Is it that hard?
Apparently.
I think he was mocking the strut, Brian.
Is it that hard?
To mock the strut?
He made it look really, really hard. Even to mock it. Steve Austin did the Fargo strut.
He's doing the strut and
in the Attitude Era.
with his arms totally straight the entire way.
He looked like he was recreating the Patterson film.
Is it any worse than Jarrett's?
Yes.
Yeah!
Okay.
Not even in the same universe. What are you talking about?
I don't like Jarrett. Wow. I don't like him as a word. I don't like him at this time in this gimmick.
Well, this gimmick was terrible. And this match was horrible. And Austin did a horrible strut. Let's not mince words here.
Okay.
Well, speaking of horrible, Shamrock did a promo. He said that he and Austin were both marked men in the Rumble. He hoped it would come down to the two of them and they just stare off eye to eye and toe to toe. That was really about it.
Shamrock's voice was cracking like he was going through puberty, which he assuredly was not.
No. Sonny came out to do ring announcing in a schoolgirl outfit, and as she is in there in her skirt and her pigtails announcing the next match, the way she's standing, you can clearly see the sign behind her that the fan's holding up reading, "Sonny, strip for us."
This was where it really hit me. Not right there, immediately afterwards. When it was Sniper and Recon versus DOA.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, are you trying to lose? Like, what is your plan? Like, Vince, he really is the best promoter there's ever been. And some of the stuff he does, it is really quite brilliant. Like, just to cut ahead here, there's a segment later where Steve Austin hits the ring to give Mark Mero a stunner. And as Steve Austin is leaving, he passes by Sable. And Steve Austin is the top babyface and a badass. Mm-hmm. And all he does is he looks at her, and he smiles, and he walks off. And she looks at him, and she smiles. It was such a small, subtle thing, but it made Austin just come off as the man. This man was such a man that he eyebrowed her, or he eyeballed her, but...
Rock eyebrowed her.
He just moved on. Yeah. He didn't need to hit on her.
No.
All he had to do was look at her. Mm-hmm. He was the alpha male. She was salivating over him. He walked away and no-sold her, and now she wants him even more. It was a brilliant little thing right there. Meanwhile, this motherfucker put Sniper and Recon against the DOA on Raw in the middle of a goddamn wrestling war. On a show, by the way, that also includes the Headbangers, Tom Brandi, Flash Funk and Goldust, the goddamn Headbangers, and all this other bullshit.
The only thing I would say about this tag match is that the highlight is when...
There was no highlight.
No, there was a highlight.
No!
Sniper went up to the top rope, and Jackal, in calling the action, I believe, referred to him as High Spot.
Yes.
He did. That's not a highlight.
Oh, I don't know.
8-Ball made the worst comeback I've ever seen. This is a tag team match, so he was attacking two men, okay? He hit them with multiple moves. What would you say? He hit him with 6 moves total? 8 moves? He hit 8 moves, and not one of them did he deposit the man in the middle of the goddamn ring.
Of course not.
They were over by the corner. They were over by the ropes. They were over by the other corner. It was like he couldn't find the middle.
Well, the idea always was that you would stand in the middle and they would feed you. He got it backwards.
You're right, but you know what? If the other guys are so horrible that they don't feed you, you still have to get a hold of them and then deposit them in the middle.
That's true.
He's throwing these fucking bodies all over the place.
Yeah.
I determined that DOA is the worst in-ring faction in wrestling ever in this match.
Did you watch this show? Did you see the Headbangers?
I was going to say.
faction.
The Headbangers were so much worse.
Chains and
Yeah.
Crush.
All of them.
Well, Crush is gone.
That's true.
So now they're just a team.
I will accept DOA as worst faction and Headbangers as worst team. I will.
What about Sniper or Recon? What about the Truth Commission? You're ranking them above the DOA?
Just slightly.
On the whole, yes.
These are various circles of hell.
Yeah. We are. Yeah.
And then Jackal, at the beginning of this match, is talking about how he's going to grace us all with his presence in the ring. And by the time this match was over, I was like, there's no way this guy's getting in the ring. He took one look at this match and was like, I'm doing just fine sitting here on commentary. It's fucking hideous. And not only could 8-Ball not deposit anybody in the middle of the ring, Kurgan starts walking down to the ring, so they cut away. And then when they cut back, there's the finish.
Yeah.
Now, what happened, I don't know, because I was looking at Kurgan. But worse, the finish didn't even happen in the middle of the ring.
Of course not.
The pinfall happened in a random spot somewhere off to the side.
DX came out for a promo.
Big Wood and Avalanche. Their finish was in the middle of the ring. You realize that?
Yes.
This may have been the worst match of all time, now that I think about it.
It was no good. I have nothing to say about it. Sorry. DX came out for a promo. Hunter's on crutches, and he's looking into the camera, and it's close up on him, obviously, and he's running it down Owen Hart and making dick jokes. It's all very generic. In the background, Shawn has a baseball cap on backwards and a lollipop, and he just keeps casually looking around and absentmindedly staring at Chyna's new boobs again. And she'll bring it to his attention, and he'll stop, and then his eyes will start to wander again, both of them. And he'll end up back on her chest again, and she'll pat him again, and he'll look away. It was so dumb, but he is so awesome, and it was so funny.
That's the key. He's so great that he made totally killing the joke funny.
Yes.
Like, there's a very subtle way to do this. He didn't do it. And then he just kept doing the joke over and over and over and over again through the entire promo. I have absolutely no idea what Hunter said. I know he was talking about Owen, and I know he yelled something about getting wood. That's all I remember. Because all you could do was look at Shawn.
Shawn was more entertaining. So Owen appeared on the Tron, and Hunter called out Owen, come on down to this ring, and Owen refused. He appeared on the Titantron instead. Now, talk about how sometimes your memory doesn't match up with what actually happened. My memory was that Owen Hart came back after Survivor Series. He was an awesome, almost anti-hero out for revenge, and then got totally sidetracked and screwed. Owen was really bad as a babyface, and has been since he came back.
Well, I was thinking about this when he wrestled Savio Vega. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
And it hit me that his babyface turn was not a babyface turn. His heel brother got screwed, and so he came back, and there was no turn. He is a babyface because he doesn't like the guys that screwed his heel brother. Mm-hmm. The fans were never given any reason to really care about Owen Hart. I mean, they were mad that Vince McMahon screwed Brett, but it was like a WWE, it's like Seth Rollins' turn, but worse. He's just out there wrestling Savio Vega. We're supposed to cheer him because he's feuding with DX, but he never, attacked another heel or...
No, never made a save on anyone.
No, it's
never did anything noble or courageous.
No, he's a good guy by default because he's feuding with the guy that screwed Brett. That's it.
When Owen came back, it was when he first came back, it was at the DX pay-per-view, the Generation X pay-per-view. He tackled Shawn, who had just beaten Shamrock, and they both crashed through a table, and Owen was the triumphant hero. But then he got put into a feud with quite frankly, one of the only entertaining things on Raw in DX, and who are you going to cheer?
Well, the thing also is, anybody can get cheered when they come out of the crowd and attack somebody.
Right.
So I think they were fooled into thinking, oh my God, he's mega over. Because that's what he did the first few times he came back. He ran out of the crowd, he attacked Shawn, everybody went crazy because some dude came out of the crowd. It's an easy pop. But once he was actually in the ring as a competitor doing wrestling matches, he needed more to be a top babyface.
Yeah. Anyway.
Plus he's wrestling Savio.
Man.
Who could possibly care?
Yeah. Owen appeared on the Tron here and cut a total heel promo about how he was going to let Hunter's right leg heal just so then he could have the pleasure of breaking the left leg next.
Well, it's supposed to be a babyface promo because Hunter's a heel.
If you showed this promo to someone and took it out of context and didn't say he was cutting it on,
of course, bad guy.
Yeah. So Owen wrestled Savio Vega. The only highlight here was that Owen at one point during his comeback did a Thez press followed by the mounted punches. So now you know where Steve Austin got that. Other than that, yeah, it was a match. Owen was really, really good, and he was definitely missing something as a top guy babyface.
Plus, he goes for the sharpshooter, and then they do a distraction, and then he just wins anyway with a roll-up.
It was a very strange finish.
It's like, are you trying to sabotage this guy?
Yeah. So he wins after plentiful shenanigans. You know what? Let's talk. We need to talk about this more. He is distracted. He gets cut off. He puts Savio in the sharpshooter, but there must be a distraction spot. And one of the Barriquas was way out of position. So Savio was in the sharpshooter forever and did not submit. This did not help Owen out either. And then, yes, Owen won with an O'Connor roll anyway. And then, yes, even though he won, the Barriquas had to jump him, beat him up, carry him to the top of the stage so Hunter could climb out of the wheelchair and slap him. And then DX gave the Barriquas some cash and everyone left. This was really bad, I wrote. Paul Bearer came out for a promo to Undertaker's music.
He was very, very disheveled.
He had no makeup, no hair dye, just a fat guy who looked like he spent the last week wide awake under a bridge somewhere.
He hasn't had the hair dye for months.
Well, he's usually styled.
Well, it's usually dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So he runs down Undertaker, says he hopes Shawn kills him. He hates Taker's guts. It is Taker's fault, you see, that Paul Bearer has lost Kane.
Oh, man.
Taker's actions had poisoned Kane's mind, and now Paul couldn't find him, despite searching everywhere.
Was he lost in the mall?
This is where, and this is going to be one of those things that sounds so obvious it's dumb, but it really hit me how great Paul Bearer was at taking the dirt worst, horrible dialogue and making it A, believable, and B, entertaining.
He was an excellent promo.
It was amazing. So yeah, Kane is loose.
He's out past curfew.
Yeah.
Paul wants him to please come home.
He won't return calls. So he said he had taken care of Kane for years.
Did he try paging him? Did he mention that?
Didn't say. He begged Kane to come home, and that was that. All right, here we go.
Mark Mero and Tom.
No. Don't. You must give me the option to talk about this. Give me the opportunity to talk about this. They cut backstage where Steve Austin basically says, I have just laid out Mark Henry with a stunner.
Mm-hmm.
And
How did I miss this?
I don't know. They go into a room. Mark Henry is on the ground, and who should be standing over the Olympian to tend to his wounds but Mosh and Thrasher, the Headbangers. They said such things as, with this emotional level, what did he do that for? He's crazy. He's gone ballistic. This.
How did I miss this?
I don't know.
Cue it up right now.
Man.
This was unbelievably
Was
bad.
it better or worse than the match?
Worse.
Because no. That was a rhetorical question.
No, I just remember the match. The match was worse.
Nothing is worse than the match.
I'm kind of mad at Stone Cold because the Headbangers were in shooting distance.
You stunned Mark Henry and left the Headbangers walking free. All right, now we can talk Mark Mero versus Tom Brandi.
They actually did this match. I figured we'd have to pay for it.
So they're having a terrible match. Mero gets knocked out of the ring and bumps into Sable, who clearly is not hurt.
Sable is... Let me preface this by saying
I've seen leaves fall out of a tree harder than this.
she's a beautiful woman. I'm sure she is a wonderful mother to Brock Lesnar's children. Gorgeous. Did I mention a beautiful woman? I'm sure very kind. Goddamn worst actress I've ever seen in my life. She's so bad. She got knocked down. She just was on the ground. And then whenever she had to look sad, she just looked like she always does. Whenever she had to look happy, she looked the same.
Sure.
Every now and then she would smile.
Mm-hmm. She didn't even...
God bless her.
Didn't even reach for her ankle or her knee. Or
Beautiful
anything.
woman.
So Mero bumps into her and she goes down, but she's fine. Tom Brandi, though, is certain that she has suffered a catastrophic injury.
Well, I think she's supposed to be selling, but she
forgot.
couldn't.
More importantly, Tom Brandi says, I could, alert the authorities, and, it's a wrestling show. There's an ambulance at the back in EMTs. I can alert them, have them come out and do their job. I've got a better idea.
I don't blame him for this.
I'm going to carry Sable to the back like I'm Frankenstein.
I don't blame him for this.
Well, I see where you're going.
Yeah.
There may have been feels copped. Mm-hmm. So he picks her up, but Mero hits him from behind, and he sets her down. She still didn't look hurt.
They were supposed to fall down.
Well,
they're not talented enough.
One of them did.
Somewhere in here, Jerry Lawler made a comment about external heart massage, which I found quite ironic, since he would later receive it on Raw. So Mero oh my God, I forgot about this.
Can I talk about this?
Have at it.
Mark Merritt's a TKO. And he goes for another one.
I'm trying to remove my jacket quietly.
But he's got a jacket made out of paper. It's like an origami jacket.
Yeah. Sorry.
You took his chair away and gave him my chair.
I know. Thank God I took that noisy chair away so I could show up in an origami jacket.
The chair that I brought, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
I actually had a matching chair. I don't know what happened to it.
The jacket's gone. I'm sorry for being... Did you...
Yes.
Anyway, the jacket's
Go
gone.
ahead.
Did I what?
Brian, carry on.
Did I have to mention it?
No, I was going to ask if you the sound quality on this honestly seems better. Did you fiddle with it more?
Yes.
Okay.
I've adjusted some things.
Well, you over-adjusted.
Thank you. I wasn't anticipating you showing up in the ocean. So Mero lifts this guy up for the fucking TKO. Hits it. He goes for it a second time. And Steve Austin is supposed to come out and give him the stunner.
Mm-hmm.
So, you ever heard the stories about how Finn Balor, when he first came to WWE, Hunter said, it took this young man 2 years to figure out where the hard camera was. Way to teach him where the cameras were. He'd been working indies at the Tokyo Dome in front of tens of thousands of people in the main event. Anyway, so Mark Mero has no fucking idea where the hard camera is because he has this guy on the shoulders and his ass is to the camera. And Steve Austin gets in the ring and he could go over and spin the guy around. But he's like, fuck it. I'm going to wait here till this guy turns around. And he waits, and he waits, and he waits. Keep in mind, Mark Mero has a large man on his shoulders. He ain't just standing there. He's having to hold this dude up. And Mero's standing there, and he's standing there. And at some point he must have realized, I see nothing but people in front of me. The camera must be on the other fucking side. And then he turns around, and Austin nonchalantly walks over and gives this guy the stunner. Was this a full quarter hour that he had this guy up on his shoulders?
Folks, if you didn't watch this episode and you heard Brian's description there, I would argue that Brian he's going too easy.
I'm being too kind?
Yes,
absolutely.
First of all, they do this dumb spot with Sable outside, and then Mero goes in. I am quite certain the spot was not hit your finisher and then pick him up to go forward again.
Right.
I think I don't know if they thought if Austin was late. It doesn't seem like it because the first one wasn't delayed. He just picked him up and hit his move. His move was like, oh shit, I was not supposed to hit my move. Then he goes to pick him up again. And I think Austin may have been punishing him for hitting his move the first time.
Very possible.
But yes, eventually Mero turned around and Austin stunned him. And this is the spot where as he was leaving, he exchanged smiles with Sable. And that was that.
And Ross talked about his baby blue eyes.
He did. Ross is a little jealous of Sable, I believe.
Apparently.
Yeah. Flash Funk versus the artist formerly known as Goldust.
Okay.
Goldust came out in blackface, everyone. In 1998.
I had to have a talk with my son.
Why is your son watching the show with you?
I said, son, it was a different time.
Kind of a father are you?
That's actually a great question.
It doesn't matter his age either.
If he's 24.
Like, you shouldn't subject a friend to this. Nobody should be watching the show with you, Craig.
Listen.
This is a bad program.
Sometimes the boy walks in at a bad time. And this was a bad time.
This is why you watch it on your tiny cell phone.
No.
And hide.
Did we mention he was wrestling Flash Funk?
Yes. Now,
Did we mention it was horrible? Have we mentioned that yet?
As Goldust comes out, Jim Ross is sure to make this crystal clear. He's just trying to get attention, everyone. That's all. Don't read any more into it. Yeah, good one.
I've often heard the term white guilt. I think I know what it is now.
Now you understand.
Yes.
So, Flash Funk, of course, did not find the blackface funny. They had a match. It was short and crappy, and the ref caught Luna interfering for the DQ. Now, here's why. Well, Goldust hit a curtain call, Vader attacked, and Goldust ran away.
Let's not gloss over Vader grabbing Flash Funk and giving him a big friendly hug.
And then they danced together.
That was very sweet.
He's a teddy bear.
He is a big teddy bear.
He's a big fluffy mastodon.
New DDP yoga student.
Yes, he is. We wish him the best. But the real reason this Goldust thing is so awful, where is it going? He's just coming out and doing something terrible for shock value every week.
Where are DOA and the Bariquas and the Headbangers and this whole goddamn tag team division going?
I guess that's a good question, too.
Absolutely nowhere. Nothing on this fucking show is going anywhere. Just like Nitro, where they built up all year to Starrcade and then didn't have a goddamn single idea the next day.
That's clear. Had a Steve Blackman hype video. I know that sounds like an oxymoron.
Steve Blackman hype video.
Yeah, it happened.
It was not good either. And then a Cactus Jack Chainsaw Charlie New Age Outlaws hype video. And then the New Age Outlaws wrestled the Headbangers.
I'm pretty confident this was by far the worst Headbangers match I've ever seen. I saw their run in 2016 when they returned to SmackDown. I saw all of their matches in the 90s that we have seen thus far. The very first spot, Thrasher was going to come off the top on both of the Outlaws. And he didn't wait for them to walk to the middle of the ring. He just jumped at the first available opportunity. He saw them, and he leaped. Missed by a fucking mile. Kind of clipped the first guy. And then, as they're both falling down, he lunges and punches the second guy who has to take a bump. At the end of the match, they fucked up the finish something fierce. Or the idea was that they were designed to look like the biggest fucking geeks on earth.
No, see, I go with option B here.
Well, one way or the other it was fucked up. So that means that they fucked up the first spot, the last spot, and every spot in the match. That's got to be a record of some sort.
It's way up there. Did you mention the part where Rhodey and a headbanger tried to dropkick each other and both came up selling their balls?
Thank you.
Did you mention the part where the Outlaws threatened to stick their belts where the sun don't shine, and the headbangers responded by lifting their skirts and bending over, inviting this?
And did we mention that the headbangers did the double flapjack spot, and the announcers compared them to the Midnight Express?
That happened.
That also happened, yeah. So
I can't believe that happened. We just fucking talked about that on Sunday.
Yes.
How the Midnight Express couldn't even do it well. And
so these
now
are the headbangers.
The headbangers are doing it.
Now, here's my theory on the finish. Every time I see the headbangers try their finish, they always fuck it up.
Right.
So I think the gimmick here was, let's have them fuck it up on purpose. It's a planned fuck up. So they go for the finish, but the guy doing the powerbomb falls down, and the other guy goes splat, and the New Age Outlaws just cradle him and pin him. And that's how it ends.
The only thing is, Mosh was up there for such a long time waiting for the setup that it looked like they just screwed up the move.
It's possible. Entirely possible. They're awful.
Can you imagine being so bad at your job that people can't figure out if you really fucked it up or not?
Yeah.
No.
So halfway through the match, the Godwins came out to watch. I have no idea why.
To make me really mad.
But as soon as the comeback started, they left. They said, these headbangers fucking suck. And they went to the back. And then Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack ran out and chased the champs away.
Chainsaw Charlie has now put flour on his head before the pantyhose to make it look extra wacky. I don't get it.
No one gets it.
You think he got it?
No
I
one
don't
got
know.
it then.
I don't
I have an
understand.
idea. I'm going to put powder on my head. That's how the whole idea came about.
It's like Terry says, Cactus, I'm going to go out there with this chainsaw. And Mick said, that's a good idea. And Terry said, Cactus, I'm going to put a pantyhose in my head. And Mick said, you're a legend. And Terry said, I'll do powder on my head too. And Mick said, okay, whatever, Terry, whatever. All right, we got a Mike Tyson video package leading to Don King doing a pre-tape promo from his office.
Don King is still alive.
Yeah.
It's astonishing.
He's actually younger than Granny. He's only 85.
He's lived a harsher life.
That's true. He was completely out of his mind.
It was
Well-
funny because he had to plug that the Tyson deal was not finalized yet, but he also had to plug WrestleMania. So he's going back and forth from, we still have some I's to dot, some T's to cross, but you must get this show on March 29th. The deal is not done yet, but you don't want to miss March 29th.
I'm thinking the deal's done.
The deal may be done. Hell in a Cell highlight package to hype up the rematch of the Royal Rumble. This was great. Mm-hmm. And Shawn Michaels comes out for a promo.
I didn't like this.
You didn't like it?
This was dumb.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It's dumb.
Shawn pulled it off.
He says, Hunter called out Owen earlier, and Owen had no-showed. So I'm going to take this opportunity to call out Undertaker. And at this point, Taker's music hits, and the Druids wheel the DX tagged casket down to ringside. And Shawn says, oh, Hunter, China, you could have been more creative. We just did this last week. Come on out, guys. You're like knocking on the lid of the casket. Break it down. At this point, a frantic Hunter in China appeared on stage, waving to get Shawn's attention, saying, that's not us. We don't know what's going on.
Best thing is he's looking at the casket, and they come out on the ramp. But he doesn't look up. He looks to the right. He looks to the left. Why are these people cheering? What the fuck's going on? Then he looks up at the ramp, and he realizes, well, shit.
Now, in the next 10 to 15 seconds of TV time, we may have had the worst and best moments of Shawn's career. We'll start with the worst. And Brian, I remember you burying this 19 years ago.
No.
The first part, when he has to explain, but if you're up there,
Yes.
then who's in the casket?
It's so Scooby-Doo-esque.
It
You know
was
what?
exactly Scooby-Doo.
It was really bad, but I appreciate it a lot more nowadays because as I look back at DX, Shawn did this shit on every show.
That's also true.
This was not in any way out of character for Shawn Michaels to be this wacky.
Now, that was the worst moment of Shawn's career. Here is the best. Because the lid popped open, Taker sat up, grabbed Shawn by the throat, and Shawn, he waved his left arm back and forth in terror. But his right arm still had the microphone next to his mouth. So we could all hear him screaming repeatedly as Taker grabbed him, yanked him into the casket, and slammed the lid shut.
It's actually even better. The mic wasn't by his mouth. He moved it to his mouth as he was being dragged into the casket.
Yes. So we heard Shawn going, and then I don't know who thought of this or what they thought would happen. But someone said, for the very last shot, let's have a camera inside the casket. Forgetting that inside the casket, there are no lights. So the screen goes black. We don't really hear or see, we see nothing. We don't hear anything we couldn't have heard from outside the casket anyway, and the show goes off the air.
I think they just faded to black.
No.
I don't think they bothered to put a camera in there.
They may have switched to another camera
Just put the goddamn lens cap on.
Jim Ross said there's a camera inside the casket.
I know that, jackass, but the point is they didn't have to. It's an illusion. Just cover up the camera and then have Shawn gurgling.
Let's say they did put a light on the camera in the casket. What would you actually see?
Nothing. That's why it's a
Their
gimmick.
taints.
Excuse me?
That's what you would have seen.
Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on where the goddamn camera is.
That's their feet.
Numbskull?
Maybe in their feet instead.
Could have been their head.
Yeah.
Could have been nothing. Undertaker could have been laying on the casket. Let me give Undertaker some credit. He was really good at sitting up and looking scary. He didn't do a slow zombie sit-up. That fucking lid flew open, and he sat up like a puppet, and his hand was on Shawn's throat in an instant. Shawn probably really was scared shitless.
He may have been.
Like, god damn, that was like a jack-in-the-box. That fucker got out of there so fast. Yep, that was the only good thing on the show, aside from the opening segment.
And the Hell in a Cell package, which also included Shawn.
Show.
Raw number 242, January 12th, 1998.
I say that not remembering anything about the show, except I watched the Rock and Roll Express against the DOA, and the Rock and Roll Express were the heels.
Yeah.
What the fuck universe am I living in?
It was awesome.
I thought I was out of my mind. And then I was shocked to learn, I guess I shouldn't have been since it was 19 years ago, but Robert and Ricky were like 40 and 41 at the time.
Sure.
I thought they were in their 60s.
They didn't look 40 and 41.
Then I realized they're in their 60s now.
Yeah.
They were younger than me
Okay.
on that show.
That's distressing.
Yeah, think about that. That's a rough life.
It's a very rough life. So the show opened with DX cutting a promo from inside of their limo. They were very excited to go to State College, Pennsylvania, and hit on college chicks. Shawn promised an announcement tonight about the Undertaker's family. He took a shot at Bret Hart, and he stood up on the sunroof and he mooned everybody.
You know what's funny is I watch these old shows and I remember every single thing that DX did. Like I remember every single one of those segments. I must have just watched them over and over again, howling with laughter. No memory of this whatsoever. I don't know if I missed this show. Looking back, I hope I did at the time. I don't remember anything that happened on this show. It was weird.
Godwins versus Headbangers versus Truth Commission versus New Age Outlaws. When this started, I thought to myself, well, at least they're getting rid of all the horrible tag teams in one segment. Oh, how I was wrong about that.
I watched this and I thought, these fuckers are listening to this show and they've booked this match just to piss me off.
19 years ago?
Then I realized it's 19 years old.
Yeah. No, they actually thought this would be good TV.
They thought that putting these four teams on television together in the middle of a wrestling war might help them win.
Yeah.
Hey, they could have made it a 5-way and put DOA in there.
So it was not very good. The only heat was for the New Age Outlaws standing on the apron, mocking the local sports team with the out-of-state sports team.
Florida Gators.
Yeah, Florida Gators shirts and
They were playing Penn
hand
State.
signs.
They were playing Penn State in the Citrus Bowl.
Yes. Did you do your homework or did you know off that top of your head? Okay, yeah. The in-ring highlight of this match was when the man who would later be known...
This I gotta hear.
Well, to be fair, it's more about it's not so much in-ring as on mic. The man who would later be known as Bull Buchanan came into the ring. And within about 1 minute, Michael Cole referred to him as Truth Commission recon, and sniper.
It's true.
So eventually, Billy was tagged in against his will. He got beat up by all 6 men. And then, as I have written here, there was a lot going on, and Billy won, I think, with a weapon shot.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a one-fall match. And whoever gets the pin wins.
Right.
Right.
Why would you ever be tagged into a match like this against your will?
My question to this was...
You should never want to not be in the match.
Exactly. Why would you tag another team in if you really wanted to win?
You wouldn't.
Exactly.
So why was he tagged in against his will?
Was this a title match?
Yeah.
Oh. Then I don't know. So the match ends...
And yes, you're right. There was a gimmick shot. Billy hit Phineas with a gimmick for the pin. And the notable thing about this was, as noted, it is a match where whoever gets the pin wins and the match is over. Billy hits Phineas with a gimmick. There's 3 teams on the apron.
Mm-hmm.
They all just stand there
Right.
and watch it. There was not one guy that tried to get in the ring to stop this match from ending. That's how deeply they cared about these titles.
And they cut to Jackal, who appeared to be totally confused, and he realized the camera was on him and did his little peace symbol.
Yeah, he could not have possibly cared less about any of this.
We had a Road Warriors hype video. It was announced they would be facing the New Age Outlaws at the Royal Rumble. They cut backstage in anticipation of DX's limo arriving, but Steve Austin showed up in a custom-painted pickup truck instead. They go to break. When they come back, they show that during the break, Austin had laid out both Godwins in the back. And he drove his truck out into the arena.
This is what I wrote. He kills the Godwins backstage. Hopefully that's the end of them. I honest to God hope they were being written off the show here. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, they were on the show again later. On this show.
Probably, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm almost positive they were on the show again.
So Austin says...
What's it take to get rid of these teams?
Then
How long do I have to watch them? I know
Years.
that there's an LOD 2000, so I know those fuckers are around for a long time. God bless them.
Don't forget Naked Minion.
There's Naked Midian coming up. Who else is in that?
Beaver Cleavage.
DOA gets like 9 gimmicks.
Yeah.
That's right. Cleavage comes around.
It's
God,
not
this-
as fun as it sounds.
This just sucks.
So Austin says last year he won the Royal Rumble and never got his title match, but instead of pissing and moaning, he's just going to win the Rumble again this year. Cole says, "You're a marked man." And so Austin tears open his shirt and draws a bullseye on his chest and dares everyone to come get him. That was it. And it was short, but it was awesome, and everyone loved him.
You know, if you took a piece of paper and you wrote down what was going to happen in this segment, who in God's name wrote this? Our
Well-
top babyface is going to come out, and the announcer's going to say he's a marked man. So he's going to get a Sharpie, and he's going to draw a target on his own chest. Someone thought that was like a great idea. And there's one guy that could pull this off.
I was going to say,
And this was him.
can you imagine this material being given to Roman Reigns?
I was going to say Roman Reigns.
Dean Ambrose, any of them.
Oh, Ambrose.
The limo arrived and they went to break. When they came back, the limo was blocked. The entrance to the arena was blocked by a semi-truck. So Shawn gets out. He orders Chyna to get the bags, tells Hunter to hold down the fort, and they leave. I don't know why she had the bags. But Shawn and Chyna leave in search of somebody who can move the truck.
Well, she was the strongest one. Of course she carried
Well, there's
those
that.
bags.
That's a good point. Kurgan versus Jimmy Cicero and Lance Diamond.
2 geeks.
Lance Diamond, the later known as Simon Diamond, with a haircut. Remember on Sunday,
Vladimir Pietrov.
I declared him the worst wrestler I'd ever seen?
Dude, if you even say that Kurgan is worse than Vladimir, you're not going to say that, are you?
He had me... Well, to be honest, I watched this show first.
That's why.
Yeah.
I watched it second.
Yeah.
Kurgan is miles beyond Vladimir Pietrov. Miles beyond.
Above, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Beyond. He's way better.
Now, that being said, he did do the spot where he crossed one of them on the top rope. Then he went to the floor and grabbed the man's feet and pulled
Right.
to really put pressure on his nuts.
Yeah.
So
A nutcracker.
he hit Diamond with a suplex that was scarier than it should have been. And he pinned Cicero with the Iron Claw, and then he pinned both of them at the same time. And then he went to the announce desk, and they had a Penn State football helmet there. And Kurgan ripped it apart with his bare hands.
Yeah, he's awesome.
No?
He's way, way better than
Now,
Pietrov.
this helmet was
I'll buy
something
that.
you would have taken trick-or-treating.
Are you implying that
Craig,
gimmick helmets?
don't kill this gimmick here. Do you notice, by the way, speaking of Pietrov, Kurgan uses the claw hold. Which is very, very similar to Pietrov's neck hold.
Yeah, and he grabs him by the head and slams him down like Pietrov does.
What's with all these big guys with holds?
Clearly, they had been watching their Vladimir Pietrov tapes when they thought of the Kurgan gimmick. Backstage, Owen Hart realizes this is his chance. He jumps through the sunroof of the limo to attack Triple H. Shawn and Chyna jump in the limo. The limo drives away. And then there's a live shot of an empty parking lot. Mark Mero came out for a promo. I have good news. His mic didn't work. And he had no clue and just kept on talking and talking and talking and talking.
That's good news?
Yeah.
His promo would have been the only good thing in this entire segment.
It's true.
Because everything else about this sucked.
Well, I just didn't want to hear him talk.
Why? He's not a bad promo.
I don't know.
Of all of the things involving Mark Mero.
Okay. I wrote this before watching the segment, and I remember what happened.
Thank you.
So he introduces Sable, and out comes Goldust dressed as Sable, complete with thong. Unfortunate.
Dude, this has got to be a Vince Russo thing, right?
You would think.
No shit.
What
Sorry, go ahead.
what issues does this man have?
Where to begin?
Where he puts Goldust in a ball gag and a latex suit. He dresses him as Baby New Year. He puts him in women's lingerie.
Well, granted, Dustin was having some problems around this time. This may have been a group decision.
The one with
I'm
the problems
sure he was fine with it.
is the one who's scripting this. This man, his father did not pay enough attention to him. That's all I can.
Well, that's the story they're telling. They keep
No, I'm
saying-
talking about Russo.
Oh. Well, that too.
Well, we don't know that.
I'm just speculating. He's got problems. He's got issues.
Dustin wanted to get actual breast implants.
I understand.
I'm sure this is at least a 50-50 collaboration.
Listen, I'm not the world's biggest Vince Russo fan. I don't even know if I can blame him for this.
No.
This could be all Dustin. This guy was a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still.
So Vader comes out to wrestle Mero. Goldust trips Vader. Mero hits a nut shot, and such a pop comes through my TV screen. I thought Steve Austin was coming out. It was Sable.
Yeah.
She was mad at Goldust.
Not wearing the same outfit, God.
That sucks, yeah.
I did love that Sable comes out. She's wearing a cat suit. She starts screaming at Goldust. He actually shoved her, but he was in drag, so it was supposed to be okay. And then she gives him this horrendous kick. So Mero comes out. He's yelling at Sable. And Sable turns to Mark Mero. And did you write down what she said to Mark Mero?
No.
She looks at Mark Mero. She points at Goldust. And she says, and I quote, "That's not Sable."
Well, she's not wrong.
And then she just waved her hand at him and walked off.
Like
This was the best of Sable.
Maybe Mero would have looked back and said, God damn it, she's right.
Was Mark drinking the night before, and this is what he went home with?
The ultimate beer goggles.
Yes.
If you try to go home with Sable and accidentally go home with Dustin Rhodes,
Right.
you've made a mistake.
Well, he is a godly man now. Maybe this was the turning point.
I just love the whole idea of this. She was so mad that he came out with a fake Sable. And I guess in her mind, she thought maybe Goldust was a close enough facsimile that she needed to alert the world that it wasn't really her. I'm not sure what the hell was happening here, but that's what she said. That's not Sable. She pointed at Goldust.
Duly noted.
So eventually she left. The match continued. Vader hit a Vader bomb, but before he could make the pin, Goldust pulled a coconut out of his bra and broke it over Vader's head. The fans called Goldust all sorts of homophobic slurs. DX's limo returned. DX got out. Shawn was shirtless now. They were teasing Mike Tyson might appear at the Royal Rumble and constantly showing clips of Bam Bam Bigelow confronting Lawrence Taylor at the Royal Rumble in 1995. A mere 3 years ago. Backstage, Vader was down. Austin had taken him out too. We got Rock and D'Lo Brown versus Ken Shamrock and Mark Henry.
Rock was awesome.
That's true.
Once again, first off, this guy has such great star presence. It was like they turned him heel, and all of a sudden, he was The Rock.
Huh?
He was not this guy, like 6 months ago as a babyface. He was so self-conscious, he couldn't talk to save his life. They turned him heel, and he was the man. Which, by the way, another argument for turning Roman Reigns heel. Maybe this guy's really got it as a heel, because Rock sure as shit is a babyface. Rock is a babyface before he turned. Was way worse than Roman Reigns is as a babyface now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rock turned and he was amazing. Now, granted, this is The Rock, so there's
This is a high standard to live up to.
guarantee that anybody would be that good when they turn. But anyway, once again, he cut a promo, and they gave him the worst material possible. But he pulled it off. This was the beginning of 2 decades of guys being given horrible dialogue, because there was one guy that was able to pull it off every single time. So now everybody has to be given horrible dialogue, and nobody can pull it off, except maybe John Cena.
Just as a side note, Mark Henry came to the ring wearing a shirt that said Rocky sucks.
Actually, it's not a side note. It's important.
It is important. But I noticed this. WWE is so brilliant. They know the fans hate Rocky, and they chant Rocky sucks. So we're going to make a shirt that says Rocky sucks. The fans that really hate him are going to buy him. Fans that really love him are going to buy his other shirt.
Right, and he gets a merch check either way.
Right.
It's like when Brian Bosworth was playing linebacker in Seattle.
Right.
And sold, I forget if it was Bosbuster or something.
Yep.
But they were anti-Bosworth shirts sold in Denver, owned and operated by Brian Bosworth.
Genius.
Yes. Anyway, before this match, they showed clips from Shotgun of the Nation attacking Mark Henry 4-on-1 and Ken Shamrock making the save, thus setting up this tag match. So Henry comes out here in a Rocky Sucks t-shirt, and Rock points it out, and after running down the local sports teams, he says, I guarantee I'm going to rip that shirt off of Mark Henry's fat, ugly ass. They're doing this match. Shamrock runs wild, but gets cut off immediately. Makes his own comeback, and when he tries the ankle lock, Mark Henry hits the ring and lays him out.
You're really giving him a lot of credit for this slow-ass run-in here.
Well,
Took him an hour to get in there.
he sauntered in.
Walk in, mosey in. Point is, Shamrock is now getting beat up by 4 dudes, including Mark Henry. And they didn't bother to pin him. There was just a DQ. Then they laid him out, and Rock made a cover, and Mark Henry countered the pin. So why they didn't do a pin, I don't know. But eventually, Rock did live up to his word, and he ripped off the Rocky Sucks shirt to reveal a Nation of Domination shirt. It was a cunning plan.
Dude, the best part about this is he rips the guy's shirt off. He's a new member of the Nation. It's a big angle, storyline, heel turn. They head up the ramp, and there's Farooq. Farooq is furious.
Farooq had not been smartened up to this plan.
He was unaware. Nobody had filled him in. He's the leader of the Nation. And this young Rock went in there and made a command decision without alerting him. And he's furious. And it's funny because the rest of the Nation, maybe I was interpreting this wrong, but the way I interpreted it was that the rest of the Nation was all behind the Rock, and they were all excited about Mark Henry, and they were all thrilled to have a new member of the Nation. But then, when they found out that Farooq was angry about it and hadn't been filled in, then they had to pretend that they were mad at the Rock.
Yeah, Dad's home.
That is home. Yes, the Kama and D'Lo were just, wishy-washy. They were just trying to get along with everybody. The best part of this, though, Farooq is irate. How dare you make this personnel move without even consulting me? And Rock's rebuttal to this, purely through body language, he doesn't say anything. He just, with his hands, just goes, I give you Mark Henry. And a huge smile on his face. And he's like, this, doesn't matter if I didn't consult you, you should be happy this giant man is on your side now. Yeah, Rock was awesome, everybody. Breaking news.
They go to the back, and Rock is explaining that he did all of this for Farooq. He says he brought Intercontinental Gold to the Nation. Now they've got the world's strongest man. And what's notable about this segment is Rock is talking to Farooq, and in the background, D'Lo appears to be pretending to talk to Farooq. Did you notice this? He's doing something. He's like shaking his head at Farooq, and he's moving his mouth, but no words are coming out.
Well, he's trying to convince Farooq that he's still loyal. But Rock catches Kama and D'Lo both muttering or communicating somehow. He just tells them both to shut up and know your role. He says, this is the greatest day for the nation since The Rock joined. And essentially says he did it all for them. And he wraps it up. I think he said, he did not do If You Smell What The Rock Is Cooking. But he did look into the camera, smile, and flash the eyebrow repeatedly. So it's all evolution. The evolution of The Rock is happening before our eyes. And the subtle storyline of his rise to power in the nation and Farooq eventually getting booted out is it's really going well. This is a slow burn, well-developed storyline. DX came out for a promo.
Because Farooq is a master of looking disgusted, which ended up being his gimmick for like a decade after.
It did, actually. So Hunter says they finally flushed Owen Hart out of the company.
No. Let's go to the beginning.
All right.
Hunter comes out and he does the old Ric Flair request for college-aged girls.
Well, I was going to mention that too, yeah.
Chyna's there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She cannot even hide her disgust.
Well, not college age.
You motherfucker. Can we stop with these college-age girls?
There's a show, I guess we'll wait. There's a show between now and Mania that you and I, Brian, watched like 5 years ago. And we'll talk about Chyna then. Talking about it now would just be spoiling it. But she has a great reaction to DX sometimes. Anyway, Hunter, yes, he's flushed Owen Hart out of the company. He wants to fuck all the college girls. Shawn calls out Mike Tyson. Hunter makes fun of Tyson's voice. Shawn says, Tyson, you might be the best boxer in the world, but you should not stick your nose in my business. Started talking about Undertaker and Kane when Owen Hart appeared on the big screen with what I guess was supposed to be a bloody nose. He says, Hunter says, you're a tough guy in the big screen.
He just had random blood on his cheek.
Yes.
Wasn't his nose, wasn't his forehead, it was his cheek.
It was like the worst cut yourself shaving ever. So Hunter says, God damn, where was I? Hunter says, you're a tough guy in the big screen. Come out here and say that. And Owen comes on out. Says, I'll break your other leg, you gutless bastard. Do you remember that one time Owen Hart said ass?
Oh, I do.
Happy? This was number 2 on the Owen Hart curse word bucket list.
Because bastard has astard in it.
I guess so.
It's his favorite word. Ass.
So Geeks came out to separate them before much else could happen.
It's very notable that Shawn Michaels was about to address Kane when Owen showed up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because Shawn wanted to address Kane. Mm-hmm. He deliberately came out later just to address Kane. This is very important for him.
So remember earlier when I said they got rid of all the crappy tag teams at once? Skull and 8-Ball came out. It was the Rock and Roll Express in what the announcer deemed a tag team attraction.
It was so weird because we've been watching NWA, Crockett, 30 years ago. And every single week, Jim Cornette is out there with his Midnight Express. And they have been feuding with the Rock and Roll Express.
Right.
And here I am watching Raw after having watched Cornette and the Midnight Express for, I guess it's only been a little over a year now. Mm-hmm. Seems like 3 years. Cornette comes out and says, I've got a new team. The greatest team. The greatest team in NWA history. And I thought, oh man, Condry's back. Maybe he's going to do a promo. Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condry coming out here on Raw. I don't remember this. How the hell do I not remember this? And then Cornette says, the greatest team in NWA history, the Rock and Roll Express. And I was like, what? And then the best part is Jim Cornette says, here's my team, the Rock and Roll Express. And Jim Ross calls bullshit. They're not here, he says. The Rock and Roll Express aren't here. The fucking music plays, and out come the Rock and Roll Express. And I was like, what? They come down to the ring, and I'm like, am I really, honest to God, watching the Rock and Roll Express versus DOA? I'm like, what is happening here? And then the Rock and Roll Express start to get the heat.
Yeah.
This was like the WrestleMania where Sting wrestled Hunter, and the NWO was on his side. That's the way it was with Jim Cornette as the manager of the Rock and Roll Express.
No! What? There's nothing weirder than this in the world. That's not even the weirdest thing. I don't even care about Cornette. DOA are babyfaces in peril,
Correct.
fighting the Rock and Roll Express.
These tiny old men.
They're sympathetic babyfaces.
Yes.
I'm supposed to feel sorry for Ron and Don Harris as they're getting pummeled by Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. This was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I can't think of anything weirder in wrestling than what I saw right here on this television screen.
Know what's amazing? There's a lot of weirdness you missed. So Cornette comes out, says, I reintroduced the NWA last week. We have a new North American champion in Jeff Jarrett. And for all those years in the NWA, there were two great teams, my Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express. And here's the greatest team, the Rock and Roll Express. You got that part out. Then the Rockers music played. And we had the Rock and Roll Express coming out of the Rockers music.
And how wacky that on the same day this happened,
Yes.
Marty Jannetty
It's on Nitro.
is on Nitro.
Like, you want to talk two ships crossing the night?
I think you got it right with crashing in the night.
Fair enough.
Oh, come on. Marty was great.
The Rock and Roll Express were great.
Am I the only one?
That was a fun match, too.
Marty looked great, wrestled great.
So, it should not be surprising that the Rock and Roll Express were a great heel team, but they were a great heel team. This was, for sure, the best match the DOA ever had. And eventually, Cornette left to attack DOA with his racket. He got caught and DQ'd. A brawl broke out, and it was 4-on-1 if you count Jim Cornette and the tennis racket as two people, or 4-on-2. And then chains ran out to even the odds, and then Rock and Roll Express bailed. I know this was weird, and there's a lot weird about it, but all I could think was, please tell me that Rock and Roll Express stayed around a while.
Man, I hope so. You know what's weird, too? Let's talk more about Marty Jannetty. So, Marty Jannetty was one half of the Rockers, right?
Yes.
Check it with Craig. He's the historian. So, you have the Rock and Roll
Do you have Matt's
Express.
phone number?
You have Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. And you have the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure I got the history right here.
Who were the Rock and Roll RPMs?
Me and Buddy, I think.
You're the fabulous ones.
Oh, yeah, we're the new fabulous
Mike
ones.
Davis and somebody.
That's right. Anyway, the point of this is, I know I'm always hard on Robert Gibson. I don't mean to be, but I mean, he's Robert Gibson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Marty Jannetty is so much better than Robert Gibson.
Oh, hell yes.
Robert Gibson is in the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame because of the Rock and Roll Express, and Marty Jannetty is out to dry.
No,
If you put Marty Jannetty on the ballot, he'd get no votes.
Sure.
But he's like so much better than Robert Gibson. It's not even funny. They were both on Monday Night Wrestling on the same night, and it was night and day. Now, Robert was fine, but Marty was great. And what a babyface.
Oh, yeah.
That celebration that Marty Jannetty did after he won that match, I was like, that's the best babyface celebration I've seen in years. It's just so weird, this business.
We got a video of Cactus Jack cutting a promo from the Penn State football field. He said wars have been fought in the stadium, and he had gone to war with Terry Funk many times. So when he needed a partner to fight the New Age Outlaws, he called the greatest warrior he knew. He said, yes, it's ridiculous that he wants to put a pantyhose on his head and call himself Chainsaw Charlie, but to each his own. And he and Charlie are coming to get the Outlaws.
I loved that they just flat out said, it's Terry Funk. He had a stupid idea, but we're going with it.
Yes. That is the storyline. Mankind versus Goldust.
It is funny when you think about Chainsaw Charlie. Terry Funk sat down one day and came up with this idea and thought it was good.
Do you really think it was him?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's admitted it.
What?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah. Someone had a good point in that.
I think on our show.
I forget where I heard it or read it, but someone said Terry probably figured Vince McMahon will never push Terry Funk. But if you can convince Vince McMahon that Chainsaw Charlie is Vince's creation, then there's a shot. That makes some sense.
I think he just thought it was a great idea.
It's also possible he thought it was a great idea.
So he saw Leatherface in IWA Japan and decided, I want to carry a chainsaw.
I guess.
And put, it's not the chainsaw that throws me. It's the pantyhose.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we're on the same page there. So Mankind's supposed to wrestle Goldust. Mankind comes out, but then Goldust comes out dressed as Dude Love, complete with ample ass padding. Luna was actually one hell of a dudette. She could play that role great. So about a minute in, Steve Austin came out and stunned them both. He stormed the announce desk, cut a quick promo, and left.
This goddamn show's horrible.
It doesn't get any better.
I'm having trouble arguing right now.
Actually, I would disagree that it doesn't get better.
Not match-wise.
I would disagree.
Okay.
And you'll be stunned.
All right.
Vince McMahon made a statement from backstage. It was live, he was booed, and he did acknowledge the boos.
He looked around like, what? I'm Vince McMahon, goddammit.
Yes.
I'm a babyface.
Look at me. He said Tyson had been invited to the Rumble, and he would be at Raw next week. Savio Vega and Jesus Castillo versus Taka Michinoku and Scott Taylor.
I like this match.
Okay.
I really did. This is the first Los Barricos match I think I ever watched. At least paid attention to.
I see.
So did you like Scott Taylor trying to do a headstand in the corner and fucking it up to a royal degree?
Well, you know, there's high spots and there's low spots.
Let me write that down.
I just couldn't believe that, like I said, I thought we were done with the horrible tag teams in the opener with four of them.
Are you kidding me?
They just keep coming out.
Listen, I thought that Los Barricos were very good tonight. I thought Taka Michinoku was very good. I thought Scotty 2 Hotty was really good, except when he wasn't. And overall, I enjoyed the match.
I did like that Taka won with a victory roll.
Yeah.
That's not the finish. He did hit one. I was very impressed he hit one. That's right. Jesus pinned Taylor with a reverse superplex.
That's right.
That could have been fatal.
I wasn't paying that close attention.
None of us were, apparently.
Actually, I did see that at one point. See, the good thing about this match was Savio was a great base for Taka Michinoku.
Fair?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They tried to kill him with one of those old Thunderfire power bombs.
Yes.
I was thinking, you're lucky that this Taka wasn't in Suzuki-gun back then.
Oh.
You'd be fucked.
Is he now?
Savio. Yeah.
Oh, there you go,
he was
then.
one of the guys in the ring. You totally didn't even see him.
Told you I didn't.
He looked exactly the same.
Does he?
It's hard to miss.
I've seen him within the past couple of years. He's bigger. Anyway, during the match.
He's no longer 19. That's true.
That is true, yeah. During the match, Lawler's going off. How great would it be if Steve Austin confronted Mike Tyson? And there's a pause, and Jim Ross says something along the lines of yeah, that'd be something. And you can tell in his voice he's thinking, thanks for spoiling the surprise, asshole. Anyway, yes.
Well, you know, when you don't fill in your goddamn announcers,
that's true.
That's what happens.
That's true. So Taylor got pinned with the reverse superplex, and the Barricos were beating them up until Owen ran out with a crutch and chased them away. Once again, they show the Bam Bam LT angle. DX came out for another promo to harass and to harass Michael Cole. So Shawn says Kane has split from Paul Bearer. He is wandering the world all alone. I want that vignette.
I was gonna say.
They offered Kane a spot in their family. And Shawn introduces Kane as the newest member of DX. And the lights go out, but Undertaker's entrance plays instead, and Taker makes his slow walk down to the ring, and Shawn and Hunter and Chyna are trapped. And Taker says, Shawn, I'm warning you to leave my family out of all this. And he threatened to punch a hole in Shawn's forehead. He grabbed Shawn. Chyna goes after Taker. Taker grabs Chyna, lifts her up for a chokeslam. Huge pop from women and men. He's holding her up there with one arm, but Hunter breaks a crutch over his back. And all three of them jump Taker, and they're working him over with all sorts of weapons and everything they can do. The lights go out, and Kane makes his entrance. And Shawn figures Kane hates Taker, I'm okay. So he's got ground and pound on Taker, just laying in the punches. But then Kane hits the ring. He goes after DX. And they fled before anything significant could happen. Kane stalked them up the aisle. Taker gets to his feet. He looks at Kane bewildered. And Kane, from the top of the stage, looks back at Taker. And he does Undertaker's pose. And Undertaker looks like he's about to cry. And he does the pose back. And the place explodes. And then the ring explodes as Kane's pyro goes off.
What a swerve coming.
Great angle. And it had an even better one at the Rumble.
The best part was Shawn holding Hunter's hand as they limped up the ramp.
This was the go-home show for Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's talk about the main event. So, if this were real, they decided, with 4 minutes left on the show, let's do a drawing for 30 men.
Yes.
Hell of a plan. I think that Vince told Austin, God damn it, we ran long. Go stun a Godwin.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And that solved that problem.
Well, there you go. There's 30 men in the ring and a tumbler. Austin comes out and stuns one guy. Actually, it was funny because Austin hits the stunner. Even before that, there was a little pushing and shoving as the annual pre-Royal Rumble Battle Royal. Austin stuns Phineas. The Battle Royal really starts to begin. Austin flees, essentially. He's got his issue is done. He gets to the top of the ramp where Rock, D'Lo, and Savio are waiting for him, and they beat the crap out of him. And so there's a small fight on top of the ramp and a big fight in the ring. And the big fight in the ring just sort of peters out. Guys get tired of punching and start standing there.
You don't want to waste all your energy before the actual Royal Rumble.
That's right. 6
You may have to
days.
be in there for an hour.
Austin is on the stage selling. Rock and those three had left. They play Austin's music. Rock, Savio, and D'Lo come back out, beat Austin up more. So when you say that something went long, in fact, this segment went short, and they needed to fill time.
That's right.
Live TV, everyone. A wacky show.
It wasn't boring.
I did not hate
I'll
it.
say it again.
I did not hate it as much as you did.
It was not boring. I didn't hate it. I just thought it was horrible. There's a big difference.
Fair enough.
It's funny. I like Raw better because I was a Raw guy. I like WWF.
I was a well, I wasn't really.
So I always watched WWF way more than Nitro. So when I watch the shows now, it's like I'm reminding myself what I used to love. Mm-hmm. In hindsight, it's not very good.
No, it's really not.
Yeah.
Some stuff does not hold up.
You know, it wasn't at the time.
Attitude Era does not hold up. Pretty much all of it.
Oh, we just started.
That's true.
There's still plenty of time for
They're
it to get
just
better
getting ramped up.
or worse. I don't want you to ever grab the shaft here on the show again. As I was saying,
You wait till after dinner like a gentleman.
it was a big Austin Tyson angle. The rest of the show was fucking horrible.
Pretty much.
Am I wrong?
The show was on ADD.
The show is so bad. And I got Vince Russo on the show.
Yeah.
More to come.
Yeah.
I may be rethinking this whole thing with the retro shows. Like, it's so bad. The angle was the best angle in U.S. wrestling in God only knows how long at that point in time. And it turned the whole company around.
It's one of the biggest and most important angles in wrestling history.
But this is what people understand. There was like a couple of good things, and everything else was absolute shit. And what's funny is on the Nitro show, there was so much good stuff on Nitro. But then, when those goddamn main eventers went out there, the same bullshit finishes, fans looking to the back to see who was going to run in. I've noticed it before, but on this show, every single fan looked to the back. Every single one of them. It wasn't even like some of them. It was like all of them. They all looked to the back waiting for somebody to run in, and then somebody did. It's patently obvious why the wrestling war is going the direction it's going. But nobody should fool themselves into thinking that this Attitude Era Raw in early 1998 is any good.
This was a very bad show.
It's so bad. Like, it's mind-blowingly bad to the point where I feel bad about all of the fun that I've made of Raw recently. Literally, at this point, the only problem with modern Raw is it's too long. Like, the worst stuff on Raw today is still way better than this horrible stuff on these old Raws. It's kind of shocking, actually. I hear people talking about, Vince McMahon's out of touch. Vince McMahon needs to get out of here. Vince McMahon doesn't know what he's doing anymore. You kidding me? He's way better now than he used to be. Because this stuff's horrible. Anyway, let's go over it. Let's talk about the Attitude Era.
Retro Raw 243, January 19th, 1998. Show opened with a memorial graphic for Juanita McMahon.
That was Vince Sr.'s second wife.
I see. So Vince's stepmother.
Yeah.
Vince Jr., okay. Showed Taker and Kane apparently uniting at the end of Raw last week, but it was not to be, as at the Royal Rumble, Kane put Taker in a casket and then set said casket on fire.
Brutal.
They promised Mike Tyson would return to the ring tonight. That was the words they used, return to the ring. Undertaker's music played, but a jubilant Paul Bearer appeared instead. So this man had allegedly conspired to have another human being put in a box and set on fire.
That's a crime.
To his death. The fans replied by,
Oh, it's so funny.
It's a crime. Yeah.
It
that's,
is.
That's frowned upon.
It is. This is not right.
no. Fans replied by
And here it's just an angle.
booing and giving him a thumbs down, We disapprove of you burning a person to death. Boo! So he laughed out loud about how he had fooled all the fans with his promo 2 weeks ago, and then with Taker and Kane saluting each other last week. That had been the first time, he said, in 7 years we had seen The Undertaker smile. And then Kane had chokeslammed him into the casket, locked it shut, wheeled it up the ramp, hit it with an axe? ? This seems pointless to me.
He did hit it with an axe. He had to break open the casket so he could pour the gasoline in it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, into the casket.
Yeah.
I see. But still keep Taker locked in. So he doused the casket with gasoline and set it all on fire.
Vince is fascinated by this murder, the way it was accomplished.
Well, this axe thing, it seems to me like if you're locked in a box and the box is on fire, this is going to go badly for you no matter what.
Not necessarily. If you start the fire in the box, you're in big trouble.
That's worse.
Yeah, it is worse. That's the point. That's why he cut it open with an axe first.
So the fire would be in the box.
Yeah.
All right.
Because The Undertaker's known for vanishing.
Well, they brought that up here. The announcers let us know. Presumably after it went off the air, they had opened the casket and found it nothing. No burned Undertaker. So Paul said this has been a 6
Well,
month...
duh, he was burned to ashes. Why is this surprising? You put a guy in a box, you light the whole thing on fire with gasoline in, and then when you open it up later, he's gone. What'd you expect? He's burnt to a crisp.
You expect to find his crisp?
No.
Crispy charred Undertaker.
Ashes.
Anyway, Paul says this is my 6 month plan. It's been finalized. Taker is gone forever. What now?
So he had a piece of paper with a plan on it, and the end of it was burn Undertaker to death.
Yes.
Okay. Now it's premeditated.
But first, he had to torment him for months.
Yeah.
That's called evidence, by the way.
This show is so stupid.
Are there no prosecuting attorneys in California monitoring the show?
I love Paul Bearer, and he was awesome in this segment, but this is so stupid.
There was one thing. The crowd was chanting at him, "You suck, you suck." Paul said, and I quote, "If I suck, I must be pretty good at it."
I don't have an answer.
That's what he said.
Let's cut forward to the chase here, or let's cut to the chase. I don't even know what that means, but it's an old saying. So, the lights go out, and the Undertaker's music plays, and a casket starts being wheeled to ringside, and Paul Bearer is shocked. And I thought, well, of course it's going to be Kane, because we've seen this fucking angle twice in the last month. We saw it with Shawn, then we saw it with Hunter. Now we're seeing it again with Kane, right?
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
The third time in a month, they've done the same angle to try to fool you. And then, I hate to jump forward, they do the goddamn thing a fourth time, twice on one show tonight.
Yeah. So this is the casket that had been burned.
Does anyone understand what a surprise is? What a shock is?
What a swerve is?
They've done it 3 times, and they thought, let's do it in the second hour. Maybe we'll get him this time. I'm done.
Okay. So this casket had been burned. Perhaps the wheels were damaged, and that is why it was so hard to wheel it down the ramp. They couldn't even do it straight.
Because they had jobber druids.
Apparently. So they get this thing down there, and it's Kane, and he pops out, and Bearer says, "This is the last surviving member of the Undertaker's family, and that's the way I like it, because I'm Paul Bearer, and you're not." The one thing I can say about all this is, if you did not get the Rumble, they did a great job of cluing you in as to what was going on. There was no debate, no question about what had occurred at the Royal Rumble.
Okay, so DX was up next for a promo, and here's my question. If I ever had the opportunity to interview Shawn Michaels, let's say he's got a movie coming out, I was given the opportunity to interview him. Think of all of the questions you could ask Shawn Michaels about his whole career. The number one question I would ask this guy is, how did you hurt your back?
Right.
Because the story is that Shawn got backdropped over the top rope in his match with The Undertaker, and he hit his lower back on the casket. And that was the beginning of the end. Now, I remember vividly rewatching it over and over and over and over again in slow motion. And it did not look like this guy whacked his lower back on the casket.
You are correct.
It looked like he missed it, barely. Now, here we are. This is the night after the Royal Rumble. The night after Shawn suffered an injury, apparently so serious that it led to the end of his career for 4 years, he's on the show. Over the course of the show, he dances. There's a gimmick where a bunch of women jump out of a limo or a hearse, and one of them jumps into his arms, and he holds her up there. There's a barbecue where he reaches over the top rope, and he grabs a barbecue, and he pulls it over the top rope and into the ring. And all I know is, I never suffered a career-ending back injury that kept me out of action for 4 years, but I have sprained my back, and there's no way some girl could jump in my arms and I could hold her up. There's no way that I could lift a barbecue up over the top rope into the ring. This guy's doing all this stuff. What the hell's the story on this guy's back? Am I wrong?
He looked pretty spry.
He looked fine.
Yeah. Mostly. Well, we'll get to.
You know, sometimes you can take things to numb the pain.
Well, he did have a rough time getting through some of these promos tonight.
Yeah.
And he was wearing sunglasses.
Yeah. Well, speaking of what he was wearing, my question for Shawn, what was up with this button-up shirt and this corduroy jacket?
He's Shawn Michaels. That's the bottom of my list of questions.
Your gimmick is you are the biggest degenerate on earth, and you dress like a college professor. So he said he felt so guilty about what had happened to The Undertaker at the end of the show that tonight they're going to find him. Chains and Skull and 8-Ball versus Farooq and Kama and D'Lo Brown.
I'd already lost it watching this show.
I don't know if Fresno is a big biker hub or something, but they were totally into DOA, totally into this match, and it was actually, for a while, fun.
Remember when they had the Survivor Series and the gang wars were coming to an end?
Yeah. Still going.
Are we sure they were coming to the end, or was that just a gang war?
Okay, that's fair.
All I know is this match, the first half of it was actually fun. It was a plus match. And then they got the heat on a Harris twin, and I don't know which one, but he's definitely the worst one. Mm-hmm. Everything suddenly started to suck. They couldn't do anything right. The timing was off on everything. My favorite example of this, to set up the hot tag, D'Lo is going to go up top and miss a moonsault. This fucking Harris twin was crawling out of the way as D'Lo was still climbing the ropes. And poor D'Lo had to throw himself through the air like a ninny.
A ninny?
A ninny.
That's what he said.
So it turned into a 6-way brawl. DQ gets announced. Mark Henry and The Rock run out to brawl. Rock is brawling while wearing the IC belt, which is awesome. Ken Shamrock and Ahmed Johnson, who is still around, also run out. And that was that.
To our listeners at home, Brian, I assume, is looking up the word ninny.
Yeah, an idiot, it says here.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Well, also it says someone who is afraid of everything and has no courage. That's definitely not D'Lo.
No, he's brave enough to throw himself through the air.
Yeah. All I could think was, I'm watching a match where one of DOA is a sympathetic babyface in peril.
Right,
Yes.
the biggest one.
It's like, what?
A hearse was shown arriving backstage.
Have we talked about the return of Ahmed Johnson?
He was in this.
We didn't talk about it enough.
All right.
He's fucking back.
Yes.
Ahmed Johnson is back again.
Mm-hmm. And he's considerably larger.
Later, Jim Ross talks about how this man has spent more time injured than he has in the ring.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, you guys brought him back.
And then he appeared to get hurt again.
And he's horrible.
Well, it's time. Vic Venom appeared on screen. Told us we should buy WWF and Raw magazines to get the dirt.
Listen, I run an internet website. I'm a big fan of the internet. But the internet killed this business because it brought us Vic Venom. This guy comes on national television. We're watching these shows every week now like fans. Every week we watch one episode. And of course, we're not sitting here following all of the news of the week because there's news going on in 2017. So we take some time out of our lives to go back, watch a show, and then we move on with our lives. So we're outside the bubble watching these shows. And when you're outside the bubble watching these shows, this fucking weirdo comes on screen and he's talking about shooting with us.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
And who is he talking to? Because he's not talking to the 5 million people that are watching this show right now. He's talking to like 100 people. He's going to shoot with us. He's going to give us all the inside dirt in WWF magazine. It was cringeworthy.
Yeah. I'd rather not talk about it, but it's part of the show, so I have to. They thought, no one's buying our magazine. What if we put Vince Russo on camera?
Yeah. No, I'm sure they didn't think that. I'm sure he pushed that.
I'm sure he put it in their heads. They listened. That's just as bad. Tom Brandi versus Mark Mero. They're doing this match. And the guy in a suit comes out and delivers a bouquet of flowers to Sable. I believe they were daisies. Not roses. Not anything nice.
I think the announcers called them posies.
One of the announcers did call them posies. It came off very second rate. It pissed off Mero. Match went on. The announcer said Tom Brandi has the hardest set of hands on the roster. Shouldn't that go to the guy who's doing the boxing gimmick in this very same match?
That it should, Vince. You're correct.
So Sable climbed up in the apron at a random point, and Mero hit a low blow and the TKO for the win.
I was looking through the old Observer. Dave's writing about this match. He says something like, Tom Brandi is a chivalrous gentleman or whatever. It's just not clicking for some reason. I'm like, well, maybe that reason is he fucking gets beat every goddamn single time he gets in the ring. How the fuck is he supposed to get over? And it was funny, because I was watching and I thought, Tom Brandi cannot catch a break in this feud. No matter how many distractions there are, he cannot catch a win over Mark Mero, even by the old slip on the banana peel. How many distractions were there in this match? He still got beat.
Yeah.
Then I realized, here I am, warped again by the business today. Tom Brandi never should have beaten Mark Mero. Not a single time. I'm so used to this even Steven booking that I'm waiting for Mark Mero to lose, and then he wins, and then he loses, and then he wins. Even though I hate it. This is the way it should be. Why should Tom Brandi ever beat Mark Mero? Never, he shouldn't. In no universe should he beat the Star. And he didn't. And I'm here wondering why.
Well, you would think in the long run, Tom Brandi would end up with Sable. That's the way the storyline should progress, the way this is going. But he gets beat every week, and so that's never going to happen.
They needed just some stupid thing for Mark Mero to do, and they came up with Tom Brandi. Chivalrous gentleman. Loser.
And by the way, what's the difference between Tom Brandi and Sal Sincere?
One is a fake gimmick, Craig. You'd know if you read WWF Magazine. There's probably an interview with Tom Brandi talking about the gimmick that he had for all these years.
You've got me there, Brian. I will try to renew my subscription.
I would bet you anything that's one of the articles in WWF Magazine. An interview with Tom Brandi about his bad gimmick as Sal Sincere.
So Brian and I actually watched this episode about 5-6 years ago. And so I forget what the cause was. I don't know.
What the hell did we do that for?
But we did. Someone can look it up if they want to. But the only two reasons I remember, I don't remember actually rewatching the Tyson segment. This next segment is the one I remember watching because DX is tiptoeing around the hearse. They're whispering to each other. There's a driver. Taker's probably in the back. Let's go back there. They say, okay, we'll open this door on 3. Do you mean 1, 2, 3 and go or 1, 2, go? No, 1, 2, go. Okay, good.
I'm glad you brought that up. Go ahead.
And finally, they open the door, ready to beat up the Undertaker. And instead, it's like every group date on The Bachelor where a dozen women come out all happy to see the guy, except there's 2 bachelors here. So women come out of the limo. They're all excited to see Shawn and Hunter. They're jumping in their arms, throwing themselves at these men. And they drag Shawn and Hunter into the limo, who go quite willingly. And Chyna is left outside. And this is this part I remember, this exact shot. The camera pans over, and Chyna looks into the camera, and she just rolls her eyes at these 2 idiots she's hanging out with, and she slams the door and walks away.
I got to find this review we did 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. I got to find out if I hated the show as much then as I do now.
Don't know.
Because 5 years ago, Raw was only 2 hours.
Yeah.
It hadn't gone to 3 hours yet.
Yeah.
Huh. That'd be interesting.
Limo's pulled up backstage. Shane McMahon stepped out with Mike Tyson. We were told there had been a snag in contract negotiations.
Fucking Shane.
Screwing things up as usual.
Fucked it up again. That's why Stephanie got it.
Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie versus the Quebecers.
They're back.
They are back. You know what's funny about this? We always talk about the Performance Center and how if Dusty Rhodes showed up today, like he wouldn't even get a tryout because he's so fat. This was actually about 2 years ago. He'd get a tryout today. They'll take anybody today. But I was watching Terry Funk in this match, and I was like, this may be the exception. If this guy got in the ring and did what he did in this match, they'd be like, dude, get out of here. What are you doing? He was so over the top Terry Funk in this match with a pantyhose on his head.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I laughed when I saw the Quebecers, and then I thought about the 1998 WWF Tag Team Division. I thought, you know what? This may be the best tag team in the company right now.
It's quite possible.
Match was a mess, though. They took turns hitting Terry Funk with pile drivers, like minutes apart. And then finally, when they tried a third pile driver, Cactus said, "This is too much," and he hit the ring without a tag to break it up. Ref tries to throw him out. Jack puts him in the mandible claw. They keep on fighting.
For the DQ. That was their finish.
Yeah.
God
the Quebecers
damn.
won.
Well, they just came back, so they should get a win, but like you couldn't find another team that they could defeat in the ring.
Anyway, they kept on brawling everywhere, and finally Jack chased them away with his barbed wire bat.
Let's not gloss over this. They beat up Charlie. Foley clotheslines everybody outside. Funk hits a Vader bomb off the middle rope on everybody. He's in his 50s at this point. Pierre does this giant... He takes a backdrop over the top, lands on Foley. They splat on the ground, almost die. It was a total disaster. But it was not boring.
No.
I will give them that. It was not boring.
DX found the minis backstage, asked if they had seen The Undertaker. The only time on this entire show where it appeared Shawn's back may be hurting him was when he turned to Chyna and said, "I can't bend over this far. Could you hold them up so I can talk to them?"
That's right.
So she did. He did. It went nowhere. Tyson was backstage hanging out with Sergeant Slaughter and Pat Patterson and all the other Hall of Famers.
Funk would have been 51.
Jeez. We had
Madman.
Well, he is, was, and will be.
Has he had his last match yet?
He may have retired. I'm not sure.
A few of them.
I seem to recall a ceremony. Blackjack Bradshaw versus Jeff Jarrett for the NWA North American Championship. Rock and Roll Express is still here, which is great news. I take it back. The Quebecers are not the best tag team in the company. What the hell was I thinking? So, Rock and Rolls and Jim Cornette are liberally interfering, and Blackjack Wyndham is at ringside doing nothing about it. And finally, Cornette takes the ref. Bradshaw's fighting off everybody, but Wyndham accidentally hits him with a lariat, so Jarrett wins the match. Then the heels attack Bradshaw, then Wyndham breaks it up, then Wyndham drops Bradshaw with a lariat. This was 10 minutes of stuff done in about 2.5 minutes.
Sucked. The finish was a mess. Rock and Rolls hit the ring, and Robert... I never make fun of Robert Gibson and any problems he might have. This dude cannot run in a straight line. He ran at a weird angle. Bradshaw's supposed to be double clotheslining him, and one guy's running straight, the other guy's running 45-degree angle. Bradshaw still kind of clotheslines him. It's a fucking disaster. And what's with Jarrett's music? It's like the start of Thriller.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
It's something you'd hear at a spa.
What is
Very
it?
soothing.
Is that really his music, or
Yes,
are they dubbing
weeks now.
something in?
I don't know. I'm very suspicious now. Whenever I hear a strange song, is this the real thing?
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of these songs.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of these people I didn't give a shit about, so.
I was dismissed last week when I brought this up, but it is so weird to see the Rock and Roll Express out there with their hated rival, Jim Cornette, and the Rock and Roll Express cheating to help Jeff Jarrett win the match. It's a total mind F.
These segments are like if you took the pro wrestling timeline and just stuck it in a blender,
right,
and picked out random pieces and threw them all together. No, you're right. It's a total. It's hard to take.
I did like when they introduced Bradshaw as well, and they said that he was from Texas.
Yeah,
very specific.
Can't come up with one fucking city.
No, the whole state. I also like at the very end, the heels are all walking up the ramp, and Wyndham looks right into the camera and shrugs and says, "Sorry, Mom." So DX is backstage. They are frustrated they can't find Taker.
What happened here? What in the hell happened here?
I don't know what was supposed to happen.
Now that I didn't even think about it till just now, but we never found out what happened.
No. Hunter points up and behind the camera and takes off his sunglasses in awe. And then Chyna and Shawn look over, and they point, and they are in awe, too. And then it goes to break. Now, as noted, we don't know what they were pointing at. The camera guy never turned around.
What a stupid time to go to break if this were real. Number one. Number 2, if it was real and you went to break right here, you would come back with the conclusion.
Yes.
They replayed the first part and didn't give us a conclusion.
No. They went to commercial, came back, they played the Martin Luther King tribute, they came back, and they re-aired the DX bit, and that was it. And what it led to was Undertaker's music playing, what appeared to be the Undertaker lowering via cable onto the stage, and then in the ring, and of course the
4th time in a month, it's not the Undertaker.
No, it is Shawn Michaels. And DX's music hit, and Shawn dances, and
Now, I do have to say, this fucking crowd thought it was the Undertaker. It's like, dude, you haven't figured this out yet?
even if you hadn't, he's a foot shorter. So Hunter and China come out with barbecue equipment, and Hunter has the Suck the Cook apron. They put on chef's hats, and they pull up marshmallows and weenies to throw on the grill. Peak Shawn Michaels is cutting a promo while checking himself out on the Tron to make sure his chef's hat looks okay. This happened. So they're making jokes about fire because the Undertaker burned up, and they're making jokes about dicks because they're DX.
You know, I got to mention something here. So Triple H is out there, and he's playing with his wieners. He's making all these jokes. He challenges Owen Hart. And recently he had a feud with Sergeant Slaughter. In both of these cases, every single time that he cut a promo on these men, he's joking about wieners.
Yes.
He's doing all comedy. Okay? Shawn's out here with a giant wiener sticking out.
Salami.
I've never seen a man sausage like this.
Yeah, a giant sausage sticking out of his trunks.
It was a good 16, 18 inches
He's
long.
whacking it as Hunter's doing his deal.
In all seriousness, I cannot believe they could show this on TV.
They
this
did.
is so lewd.
They took
They did.
a marshmallow, put a wiener, and then put another marshmallow so it looked like a phallus on the end of the stick.
You know, there's a morning show around here. There's a morning show. It's not even around here. It's like, I don't watch these shows, but it's always on when I wake up in the morning. My wife watches them, apparently. Hoda. What's the show that Hoda's on?
Hoda's
I'm at
doing a
work,
show with Kathy Lee.
Yeah, what the hell's the name of this show?
Two old women talking about
Okay,
stuff.
anyway, point of this is, they're showing a clip this morning. I think it's of The Bachelor. I don't watch any of this stuff, okay? But the clip is one of the women wants to win or something.
Yeah.
And so her plan is, I'm going to take off all my clothes, I'm going to put on my bathrobe,
Yeah.
and I'm going to surprise him in bed.
Yeah, this happened.
It's a hell of a plan.
Yeah.
So part of the plan is
Somebody's going to win.
she gets some
Whipped cream.
whipped cream. You saw this. Vinny knows exactly what I'm talking about. He's turning red right now.
We watched
She
it.
gets some whipped cream, and she sprays in the guy's mouth, and then she sprays whipped cream between her cleavage, or inner cleavage.
Right.
And she tells the guy,
Is there outer cleavage?
she says, lick this off my boobs. Those are exact words.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's where they pause it on this show. And they go back to Hoda and Kelly or Kathy or whatever, and they're both just wide-eyed, and they look at each other, and one of them goes, I did make sure we could air that on TV. And it was one of those things where you're like, how the fuck did that make television?
I don't know.
Same thing with this.
Yeah.
He's whacking his wiener here on national television.
First.
But let me get to my point.
All right.
He's sitting there. They make a cock out of hot dogs and marshmallows.
Yes.
He's got a wiener sticking out of his trunks.
Right.
He's whacking it, okay?
Yes.
But now, suddenly, it's time for Shawn Michaels to cut a promo on Steve Austin.
Right.
Now, unlike Triple H, as soon as it was time for Shawn to cut a promo on Steve Austin, the wieners were gone, the dick jokes were gone.
He took the wiener out of his pants.
It was all about, I'm Shawn Michaels. You can ask Bret Hart. You can ask The Undertaker. You can ask all of these guys. I beat all their asses. I'm going to beat your ass at WrestleMania. And the Heartbreak Kid lays down for nobody. There was no jokes. It was a 100% serious money heel promo. And it was amazing to me that this guy got it. But as we watch the history of wrestling unfold, nobody else got it.
No.
All they could do was keep making dick jokes when they're supposed to be cutting their serious promo.
Our current Universal Champion certainly does not get it.
He understood that there's a time to play with your wiener and a time to be serious.
Many wrestlers have learned this lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah. They went to the butcher shop and said, give us the biggest sausage you have. and they pulled out this hunk of meat that would intimidate anyone. And as Hunter's doing his promo on Owen, first Shawn puts it through his fly, so it's like a half mast. He's walking around, walking up to China to show it off. And then Hunter continues. Now Shawn has it coming up the front of his pants.
He rammed it in her ass. That was the other one he did.
I missed that part.
Yeah. She was like, what the fuck are you doing?
I bet she was. And yeah, then he stuck it up the front of his pants like it was fully erect, and he's patting it. And I literally like, okay, I can't look at this anymore. So yeah, Shawn cuts his promo on Austin, or Austin says, you know, you're next in line, but I lay down for nobody. And the music plays, and they throw weenies into the crowd. Mike Tyson was talking to the Road Warriors backstage when Sonny interrupted. She tried to be coy and playful and flirtatious with Iron Mike, and the Road Warriors thought this was funny. Los Boricuas versus Owen Hart and the Headbangers and Taka Michinoku.
With Honky Tonka Man.
Yeah, why?
I don't have any fucking idea. I don't know what's
Does he
going on.
live in Fresno?
I've lost my mind.
Taka.
And it was so funny because Owen comes out with the Headbangers and Taka, and I'm like, why are Taka and the Headbangers teaming with this heel? Mm-hmm. Then I remembered, oh yeah, he's supposed to be a babyface.
He's a really awful babyface.
The Black Heart. It's just fucking horrible.
It has not been a good
This show
turn.
is so bad.
Taka was awesome here for about 30 seconds. Then the Headbangers tagged in. Both Headbangers suck. I've made it clear in my opinion they're the worst team I've ever seen.
I'll write that down.
But I must say, of the two, Thrasher clearly sucks more. He was so awful here. So Owen gets a hot tag and runs wild and puts on a sharpshooter for the win. I have no idea what the point of this match was. Michael Cole interviews Owen, who accepts Hunter's challenge for next week, saying he would never turn down a shot to get his hands on Hunter. The Nation of Domination tried to recruit Tyson backstage. This led to Rock versus Ahmed Johnson.
Goddamn, first thing that happens is Ahmed takes a suplex and goes, fuck!
He grabs the small of his back. It looked like actually he got hurt even getting into the ring, because he's rolls into the ring, and Rock starts throwing boots, and Ahmed's not moving, selling nothing. He's just down dead. And Rock picks him up, gives him a vertical suplex, and Ahmed grabs his back, cries out, "Fuck!" And the match kept going, and apparently he's fine.
I don't know if he was fine. He wasn't moving very well. Now, granted, he never moves very well, but he was moving much worse than usual.
He was taking bumps and throwing the Rock around, so it couldn't have been that bad. And finally, Mark Henry comes out and hits Ahmed with a chair as Ahmed's running the ropes, kinda. And Rock hits a rock bottom for the win. Shamrock chases them away. This sucked.
So earlier in this evening, there was the deal with DX, and they were trying to figure out this 1, 2, 3 thing. During this match, Ahmed's in there with the Rock, and the Rock goes for a suplex, and Ahmed blocks it. And the Rock goes for it again, and Ahmed blocks it. And then Ahmed says, 1, 2, 3, go! And then he lifts him up.
Yeah.
Let me repeat that. Mm-hmm. He says, 1, 2, 3, go! Then he lifts him up.
Right.
Okay, you lift him up on go!
Right.
That's your problem with it?
That is everything I need to know about Ahmed was right there. This is why this motherfucker mistimed everything. You don't say 1, 2, 3, go, and then wait a second, and then go. You say, it's either 1, 2, 3, and on 3 you lift the fucker, or it's 1, 2, 3, go, and then you lift the fucker. You don't say 1, 2, 3, go, and then stand there, and then lift the motherfucker. No wonder everything you did was fucked up.
His timing is not it's not his friend.
What is his friend? I haven't seen one goddamn thing yet,
Apparently
except
Vince-
injuries.
Apparently Vince is, because he keeps giving him a job.
Bulk and girth.
This was the 9th circle of hell.
Talking about wieners again?
I might be. I'm not sure.
Oh, and then, oh my God. It's fucking Southern Justice. Listen,
Wait,
somebody
you're skipping
mentioned
2 segments.
Yeah, we're not there yet, bro.
They're short. Cactus Jack and Chainsaw are showing their toys to Mike Tyson. He's very impressed with his barbed wire bad idea. And then, this is actually kind of important. The last group to make a recruiting pitch to Mike Tyson is DX. Mm-hmm. That's important down the line.
Right.
Now, Brian, talk about Southern Justice.
somebody had mentioned, maybe it was you, somebody mentioned Southern Justice.
Yeah.
And I was like, Southern fucking Justice. I seem to recall that from somewhere. It's the goddamn Godwins are now Southern Justice.
They toyed with this word, its name, like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
It's not even they. It's Road Dogg.
Yeah.
It's like he went into business for himself. So the Godwins is a stupid gimmick. I'm going to do these guys a favor.
Well, the Godwins had mentioned Southern Justice maybe a month ago during one of their matches. And
I don't remember Henry wrestling after breaking his neck.
it's true.
I fucking for sure don't remember Southern Justice. There's no way this went any length of time.
Well, what happened here was the Outlaws come out in coveralls with a stuffed pig. And they said, we have no beef with the Godwins. We have lowered ourselves to wearing overalls like you to show we are loyal to Southern Justice. Mm-hmm. Which, again, a reference that went over everyone's head because they have never been introduced to Southern Justice. Only Road Dogg has ever called them that. The Godwins were offended. They attacked. They stripped Billy to his skivvies, which I was relieved to see were just wrestling trunks.
They gave him the worst tilt-a-whirl suplex
Dude.
ever.
That gut-wrench suplex. You will recall,
I know.
a week or two ago, I ranted after a WCW Saturday night show about how it's impossible to fuck this move up, and yet I saw 2 men do it. This was so much worse than either of those. Now, the big difference, and I watched this about 100 times, I'm almost positive this is all Phineas's fault. On Saturday night, it was the guys taking the move's fault. This was all Phineas. Phineas grabs Billy Gunn. We should know these are both 2 very, very big men. These are not cruiserweights. Phineas thinks, I will throw this man around with a gut-wrench suplex. And he lifts him up in the air, and he sort of turns him over, and then he falls down and lets go. And Phineas falls on his ass, and Billy falls on his head. Oh my God. So Billy Gunn, the hated heel everyone hates, took 5,000 moves in a row to set up a hot tag to Road Dogg, the other hated heel everyone hates. Phineas continued to suck and be awful.
Why in the hell were Road Dogg and Billy selling for this whole match?
I don't know.
And they fucking sold forever.
Not even they.
He, Billy.
Finally, they had literally one offensive move. They hit Phineas with a stuffed pig and pinned him. And they ran away, and Henry found a brick inside the stuffed pig.
Ungodly horrible.
Vince came out. He was booed. Went to break. They came back. He quickly brought out Tyson, who was also booed. A mixed reaction. Here was where I was listening close and saying, this music is edited in. I don't know what his old music was, but this is edited in. Tyson says he's happy to be there. He's been a fan since he was 8 years old. And Vince says, who was your favorite wrestler growing up? And at the top of his lungs, Tyson screams, Bruno Sammartino. And Vince says, and Don Leo Jonathan, who was also awesome, by the way.
I just love that. Vince couldn't say Hogan.
Obviously.
But he could say Andre. Mm-hmm. Andre the Giant. Instead, he chose Don Leo Jonathan, which I can only imagine all of the children in the crowd wondering, who the fuck is Don Leo Jonathan?
See, my reaction was he said Don Leo, and then Tyson says, and Nikolai Volkov. That was the name. Hey, you watch all the Bruno you want, and I encourage you all to watch all the Don Leo Jonathan you want. Nikolai Volkov?
Yep.
Yeah. Aside from him singing the national anthem.
He was a much better singer than wrestler.
Absolutely.
So Vince gets as far as announcing that at WrestleMania, in this ring, Mike Tyson will, and then Steve Austin interrupts. And Austin storms out. About 10 steps behind him is every geek they could find. Referees, agents, Hall of Famers, dozens of men.
All with panicked looks on their
All think that this has gone awry. Tyson is out there, or Austin's out there, everyone's going crazy. Finally, Vince is able to get a modicum of control.
I love that Vince is clearly very upset that Steve Austin has come out in the middle of this announcement. But as soon as Austin gets in the ring, Vince smiles. And he says, Mr. Austin. Mm-hmm. He's hoping that by smiling, Austin will say something nice.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Bad idea.
He asks, what are you doing here? Austin said he is sick of watching people try to make friends with Tyson for 2 hours, everybody offering him a handshake and sucking up to him.
It was sickening, I won't lie.
He says, I'm not here to make friends. Tyson tried to say something. Mike Tyson tried to say something, and Austin just looked at him and said, shut up. It's an underrated but big moment. He tells Mike Tyson to shut up. He says, I respect everything you've done in boxing. There's a pro wrestling ring. You are in my world, and I want a piece of Mike Tyson's ass. Everyone goes crazy. And Austin says, Tyson, you call yourself the baddest man on the planet, but I am the world's toughest son of a bitch. I can beat you any day of the week. And in case you're hard of hearing, I brought some sign language. And he flipped him off. And Tyson shoves him down hard. An army tackles Steve Austin. Perhaps the actual United States Army.
Vince's face when the double bird got flipped.
Yeah.
Priceless.
You know what's so great about this was Mike Tyson was not a popular man in this country at the time.
No.
Whole idea was to bring him in and try to make him a babyface. That's one of the parts of this whole deal was Tyson's going to come in, he's going to help WWE, and they're going to help rehab his image. And it was awesome because Steve Austin was a babyface who always acted heelish. This is very important. If Mike Tyson had been like a big-time sports star who was beloved, who's a big-time sports star in this country that's beloved?
LeBron James.
Let's pretend that LeBron James was a boxer. Everybody loved him. If you brought him into WWE today, and you had Seth Rollins, who's supposed to be their top babyface, challenge him and mock him, belittle him, and say, I could beat your ass at any time, you know what kind of reaction that would get? That'd be the end of that guy as a top babyface. But because Tyson was a hated man, Steve Austin goes in there, and he talks about how I beat your ass any day, blah, 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 blah. That made Austin even more of a hero, more of an anti-hero. And of course, the end result of this was him and Austin were best buds, and hate to spoil it for everybody, but it worked out great in the end. But it helped that Austin was hated, or that Austin was Tyson was hated, and Austin was a beloved bad guy.
I see.
Yes, this was a perfect. These were two perfect characters to make this work.
So there's a dozen men holding Austin back. There's Tyson's entourage is holding him back. He's not fighting. We're not fighting at all, really. Meanwhile, Vince snaps, and Shane and some other guys have to hold him back. And Austin's on the floor. Vince is leaning through and over the ropes. He's throwing wild punches and kicks, screaming, "You ruined it! You ruined it!" And eventually, Austin is dragged backstage. Now, here's another key part to this. They did not go to the back. They let this play out. They went to commercial. They came back and showed it again. It was a big deal. Then they did, in fact, go to the back after a while. So it's Tyson and his crew and Vince and his crew. Everyone's shouting and screaming. Vince is trying to apologize. Tyson said, "Bring that coward in front of me." And like literally at the very end, if he had said this a quarter of a second later, it never would have made air. Mike Tyson looks right into the camera and says the worst thing you can say to a gay person. Loudly. Just shouts it.
And I believe he may have got a cold stone in there as well.
Probably.
As a tease for down the road.
So there you go. That was one of the most lucrative and important angles of all time.
That was an amazing angle.
It was amazing.
On a goddamn horrible show. But hey, hell of an angle. It's so weird. All you need is like a hot baby face and a great heel. And that's it.
Yeah.
The rest of it clearly does not matter.
Apparently.
You can turn a whole company
You got to
around
get
with those two
one
things.
guy over. Here they are trying to get everybody over with their even Steven booking. And it's not working. Nobody's over. Roman Reigns is an utter failure.
But they'll keep trying.
But the point of this is, all they have to do is get one guy over. They haven't found him yet.
No.
It could take years. But if they can get one guy over, they'll be fine for many years. It's crazy.
Okay.
You don't even know.
Retro Raw 244, January 26th, 1998. They recapped Mike Tyson marking out for Steve Austin at the Royal Rumble. And then Austin confronting Tyson the next night on Raw. They showed all the press coverage they got for Austin's embarrassing display, as they called it. And they were saying Tyson no longer wanted to be a referee at WrestleMania. He wanted to face Steve Austin one-on-one.
Oh, man.
They promised Shawn Michaels would have an announcement concerning Austin Tyson, and they showed DX trying to recruit Tyson last week. Mark Henry versus Ken Shamrock.
I got to tell you something. I watched Nitro first. If I would have started with Raw, and the opening segment ended with a fucking giant brawl with every goddamn team that I hate, that I've had to watch on this fucking show now for 6 months, on every single show, they're all there at the same time, having just the most horrible brawl you've ever seen. I may have quit right there. I had already sat through Nitro, so it was like, God damn it, I just got to finish this here today. But holy God, the DOA's out there. The Nation's out there. Ahmed Johnson's out there. I don't even know what fucking team he's on, because he's not in the Nation, And he's certainly not one of DOA. He's just there. The match, Ken Shamrock and Mark Henry. And you know why they did it? They did it for one reason. Because they thought it would be neat if the world's strongest man faced the world's most dangerous man. Nobody backstage thought, what would happen if we put Ken fucking Shamrock and Mark Henry in a ring together in a singles match on national television? Oh, it would fucking be horrible. Nope. They thought we can build the world's strongest man versus the world's most dangerous man. God damn it, let's put that on television. And they did. And we watched it, and it was bad.
It was very bad.
What a shocker.
I'm pretty sure Ahmed Johnson was wearing at least 6 knee pads. Match was mostly bear hugs, and then ended in a DQ, and everyone hit the ring for a brawl.
A DQ.
Put that in 1 for a DQ / count out / whatever. Had an Undertaker Kane recap video. It was very long.
I will take it back. This was good. Mostly because of Paul Bearer.
Paul Bearer, yes.
And he's cutting a promo, and they did something weird with his voice. So he was like growling. Like he was saying something like, it's your brother, but they changed it to, it's your brother. And they slowed it down. It was awesome.
And it's also important because obviously they brought in Mike Tyson in hopes they would gain new viewers. Let's educate those new viewers, let them know what has been going on in the storyline for the past 6 months. That's a good thing to do. Also, they showed the footage after the Rumble of the casket being opened and Undertaker not being burnt up inside. The Road Warriors versus Jeff Jarrett and Barry Windham.
You know, if I didn't know any better, I would think that somehow, from the past, whoever's putting together this show is doing it just to fuck with me. Because, like, everything that I hate about this show, every week I see more of it. Like, if I never, ever see Hawk selling as the babyface in peril again in my life, it will be too soon. They fucking did it again. He's the worst babyface. And he's out there selling. And they're trying to get sympathy on Hawk. It's horrible every time. I rant about it every week, and then I turn in the next week, and they just do it again. It's horrible. How did no one recognize this?
I was most annoyed because they actually had the Rock and Roll Express right there, and they could have done, for the first time ever, Rock and Roll Express versus Road Warriors. But no, let's do Jeff Jarrett and Barry Windham instead.
That's right, because the Rock and Roll Express were heels.
Yeah. I guarantee you, Rock and Roll Express would have had a better match with the Road Warriors than this was. Guaranteed.
I promise you.
So,
this is, by the way, the same Windham that 10 years earlier was the tall, good-looking, blonde, young babyface superstar. Mm-hmm. He looks like his own father.
Yes. And if you've ever seen him recently, that's even more true now.
And Jim Cornette referenced the match we just watched. It is crazy when you think about these shows.
Oh, the Flair Windham match?
Yeah.
Yes.
We just reviewed it, and they're talking about it now on this show.
We are approaching Inception in this wrestling business we're in. So, the first half of this match, it was fine. They're doing the comeback, and I don't think I've ever seen a match fall so deeply off a cliff so immediately. It was like it hit a wall and just went straight down.
So you watched this before Nitro?
Yes.
Okay. Because that was about to change with Mongo and the British Bulldog.
That was never any good at any point.
It's so bad.
We'll get to that, believe you me. So they're doing the 4-way after the hot tag, and Hot goes up to hit Jeff Jarrett with a clothesline from the top rope. But Jarrett's back is turned. So Hawk just jumps anyway.
Yeah, maybe the guy will magically turn around and move.
Maybe he's got sonar like a bat, and he'll be coming and sell. So then Windham hits Animal with a terrible pile driver. They fall over Hawk in the process. He hits Animal with a tennis racket, makes a cover. Animal kicks out at 3.0. Not even 3.1, 3.0. But the ref calls for the bell. The match is over. That sucked.
Well, what really happened, believe it or not, this was edited, which is even more mind-blowing. So what happened was, when he was hit with the racket, Animal was supposed to kick out, and then they later went and did a DQ.
I see.
So you add that to your fucking list that this was a DQ. But I guess in editing, they were like, fuck it. Let's just cut that part out, and Animal gets pinned, and it kicks out anyway. So this was originally a DQ, but they actually edited the match together to make it a pinfall.
All right, put this under fuck finish.
Yes.
All right. That's so bizarre, by the way, that story. That shows you how much they cared. DX did a quick bit before commercial. It was just Hunter changing clothes as Shawn and Chyna casually holding up championship belts to block his junk from camera. I don't know how they did this. I don't know how Hunter Sledgehammer didn't make TV. Chyna wasn't even looking. She's holding her belt up over her head. She was sitting down. And Shawn's there like looking off to the side. And somehow they managed to obscure everything that needed to be obscured.
Well, I've got a theory, but I don't want to talk about it on the air.
It may not have been live. It may not have been the only take. They recapped Austin Tyson again.
Or his Jimmy is so damn small.
Now there's also that possibility.
Now I'm going to edit the show.
It's not going to call you again anyway, doesn't matter. All right.
I don't need conspiracy theories. Go ahead.
All right. DX did a promo from their locker room. So Hunter's sitting there, and he's now in a loose towel as Chyna's taping up his knee. And as she's doing this, he's constantly in pain, sniping at her to be more gentle and more careful. But he's sure to add that at 50%, he's still more man than Owen Hart could ever hope to be. Michael said last week Steve Austin had embarrassed this company in front of their invited guest. As a make good to Mike Tyson, he was willing to step aside from his world title defense so Austin could fight Tyson instead. Hunter said, "No, Shawn, you can't do that. Everyone loves you too much. You have to be on Mania somehow." Shawn says, "Yeah, you're right. They do love me too much. There's something I can do." He pulls off his jacket, and he's conveniently wearing a referee's shirt. And Chyna whispers in his ear, and Shawn says, "You're right. I could be the special referee." This was at least fun.
This was pretty fun.
Goldust versus Vader. Goldust came out dressed like Vader, and Luna also had her face paint to look like Vader's mask. And then they showed Vader winning this exact same match at the Royal Rumble, even overcoming Luna's interference. So why are we doing a rematch now? What was the point of this? Talked about WWF Magazine mentioning Vince Russo by name. So Vic Venom lasted 1 week, I guess. Vader makes his comeback, hits a power bomb, hits a Vader bomb. Lights go out, and Kane comes out. Vader went right at him and actually hit him with a reverse tombstone. But Kane popped up and hit Vader with a tombstone of his own, which was terrifying because Vader is huge, but thankfully Kane is very, very strong. So this goes into DQ, countout / whatever.
Scariest damn tombstone I ever saw in my life, I gotta tell you.
Way up there.
I thought he was dead. Vader thought he was dead. But Kane sat up and lifted up Vader. A great deal of difficulty, I might add.
Yes.
Not as much difficulty as Bulldog attempting to lift up Mongo.
No.
And tombstoned him, and I will say it was at least exciting.
Sure.
I got a theory about this Vic Venom. I'll bet that Vince Russo so badly wanted to be on TV, and he was like, all right, I'm the editor of this fucking magazine. I'm going to convince them that my character, Vic Venom, has got to be on TV doing a segment. We'll do a commercial, and we'll plug the magazine. I'll be shooting. And then once he got that okayed, then he was like, well, if I'm going to be shooting, I should use my real name.
You were probably right.
And they got it, and that's how he got Vince Russo on the air. That's my theory.
That makes sense.
I can't be shooting as Vic Venom.
That'd be ridiculous now. New Age Outlaws versus Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie. It's one of your favorite matches that starts off as a crazy brawl and then settles down into a tag match.
Well, first they had Funk and Foley before the show in the ring together.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Terry Funk. He doesn't have the panties on his head. Mm-hmm. Funk is pretending that Chainsaw's a different guy. They're talking about how fat Foley is, how he's got a giant ass. They're laughing. I don't know what the hell this had to do with anything, except maybe for the 13 people stupid enough to not know who Chainsaw Charlie was. They wanted you to know. And that did in fact lead to the Outlaws versus Cactus and Chainsaw.
So as noted, it settled down into a tag match. They get the heat on Charlie.
You know New Jack, his music played during his matches?
Yes.
Why didn't they just play carnival music during Chainsaw Charlie matches and put big giant fucking clown shoes on this guy?
I was going to say.
He's so over the top.
There are people out there who have been in the wrestling business for a long, long time. Some of them don't like the way younger wrestlers have been, as they put it, exposing the business. There is nothing the Young Bucks have ever done. There's nothing Will Ospreay has ever done. There's nothing Kenny Omega has ever done that exposed the business any more than Chainsaw Charlie selling in this match.
That's correct.
He took... It was bad
Wrestling a blow-up doll is more believable than the selling that Terry Funk was doing in this match.
It was bad enough when he would get punched and stumble in a circle all the way around the ring, but then he would get suplexed and get to his feet and then stumble around the ring. And I thought, that's fake. That's very fake what I'm looking at right now. Oh, let's see. They had baseball gear out there. They were hitting each other with that. Rhodey had a cup to start. He no-sold a low blow. So for the finish, Jack removed Rhodey's cup, kicked him in the nuts, and hit him with a chair. Somewhere in here, the ref called for the bell. So this goes to under DQ, countout, or whatever. And the big finishing spot was they buried Road Dogg under a pile of chairs, and Charlie hit a moonsault onto the pile. What a dumb thing to do. A mess.
Hey, on the positive side, the fans loved it.
That is true. That is true. We had a Taka Michinoku video package. First of all, they did a Star Wars style graphic that said, "From a place far, far away, Japan." And then the highlights included him trying to say slobber knocker and you jackass and botching spots, and then him getting beat up for a while. This was one of the worst videos they've ever done. It may have been the worst video they've ever done.
Well, let me explain this all to you, Vinny. Mm-hmm. So, as everyone is well aware, WCW had a cruiserweight division. Vince McMahon thought we need to compete. And in his mind, he probably watched maybe one cruiserweight match on Nitro and thought, these goddamn little guys, not entertaining enough. So, of course, he made his own division, and it had to be all about sports entertainment. Taka's got to barely speak the language. He's got to do some comedy. They got to do skits with the guy. And, as is the case with everything that Vince tries that is new, they decided to start a division that is designed to be different. It is a light heavyweight division. But of course, the face of the division has to be a guy who does the things the way they do it on the main roster. Which, of course, is Brian Christopher. God bless Brian Christopher, but you're starting a light heavyweight division, and you're building around Brian Christopher, who's more a gimmick than anything else.
Yeah.
He's a character.
And he's the biggest light heavyweight they have.
It is exactly like the 205 Live today. You bring in a bunch of guys from around the world. They all do random flips and flying around and craziness. And who are they building the division around? Neville, a guy who was a mid-carder on the main roster. Now he's the star of the division. It's the exact same thing. Vince knows one way to do things.
So it occurred to me watching this match here with Brian Christopher versus Pantera. No, it would have been a fun Attitude Era team we never got to see. Brian Christopher and Buff Bagwell.
Would have been.
Maybe not the easiest guys to deal with backstage, but fun on camera. So I enjoyed this match. They had a lot of time. Pantera got no one cared about him at first, but all his lucha stuff looked cool and the crowd was into it. And he kicked out of some big moves, the skull-crushing finale. He had a sunset flip powerbomb to the floor. And finally, Christopher missed the top rope leg drop, and Pantera hooked Le Mahastra Cradle for the win. That is the first clean finish on the show, and it goes to Pantera.
Well, it was a number one contenders match, so it'll be Pantera and Taka on pay-per-view for the title.
I also loved after the match when Christopher was so shocked and frustrated and angry, he kicked the stairs and then sold his foot. And then, just to make sure Pantera didn't get over, Jerry Lawler offered to shake his hand and then kicked him in the gut and punched him and went back to the desk. Really, that happened. Jack and Charlie were backstage starting to cut a promo when they were interrupted by DX, who was sarcastically calling them hardcore legends repeatedly. It was a distraction so the Outlaws could jump them from behind. They trapped them under a chain link fence, slammed them with trash cans and other plunder, and Shawn was joining in too.
Well, there were trash cans, but there were also those big
oil barrels.
Heavy, oil barrels. Now, it's one thing when Terry Funk is laying on the cement and there's a chain link fence on top of him, and you whack him a few times with a
aluminum
trash can that just kind of bends. But when you take a goddamn oil drum or whatever that is and fucking drop it on the guy's legs, I'm like, are you trying to kill this guy? It was the Outlaws. Shawn's over there laying in the lightest kicks you've ever seen anyone throw. Now, granted, his back was fucked up. That's probably part of it. But man, this guy, so light. Everyone else trying to kill Terry Funk and Mick Foley.
Headbangers versus Quebecers. I have mentioned many times that I am convinced the Headbangers are the worst team of all time. This was the first time I realized their gimmick is to be a horrible tag team. They're the Mulkeys in skirts. The evil Canadians got the heat on the Headbangers when they tried to double team Pierre, but he outsmarted and outwrestled them both. I promise you that happened. They're doing this match and it breaks into a four-way, and the Headbangers go to whip the Quebecers into each other. The Quebecers both switch. So the Headbangers are running at each other, but they like to slam dance. So cool. And they both jump and crash into each other like it's a party. And they land, and they turn around, and the Quebecers lay them both out like the biggest geeks you ever saw.
I howled. Jerry Lawler howled. It was a great spot. I mean, come on. They're numbskulls. Who cares?
They're complete dimwits.
This could have been so much worse given the Headbangers were in there.
I have seen many Headbanger matches.
I had so
worse than
much
this.
respect for the Quebecers when this was over.
I told you they're the best team on the show right now.
God damn, you got a hell of a match out of the Headbangers.
Yes, and then Mosh ended up pinning Jacques with a sunset flip. That was a clean finish. That is 2 on the show. Although, it was followed by the Quebecers laying them out, hitting the Boston Crab leg drop combo, because God forbid anyone actually gets over on the show. Owen Hart versus Triple H was the scheduled match. The match Hunter had challenged Owen to last week. But then Goldust came out dressed as Hunter, with Luna dressed as China. Owen was not down with this, but Hunter Dust, as they called him, attacked, and the ref just rang the bell.
Shouldn't Owen have protested a little louder? This was his opportunity to get his hands on Hunter Hearst Helmsley of DX, who, by the way, in real life, Montreal is all Hunter's fault. This was his chance.
Yeah.
He sends out Goldust, and Owen's like, I mean, he got attacked and everything like that, but, I mean, hello, timeout.
Yeah.
This ain't my fucking opponent right
Leave
here.
the ring. There's a lot of things he could have done instead of just saying, well, I guess I'll fight back now.
Now, I will say, not the biggest fan of Goldust here in early 98, but Goldust and Luna did a hell of a job playing Hunter and China.
Goldust's Hunter imitation was awesome.
It was uncanny.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even believe my eyes. He was perfect. There was not one thing that he did where I didn't buy it. I was like, if I before I had LASIK, I had 2250 vision. And if I would have watched this on TV without my glasses on, I'd have thought for sure that was Hunter.
Yeah. So he started off wrestling in a wig. It didn't last long. He tears his wig off, and Lawler screams, "Hunter just pulled his hair off!" That made me laugh. The match did go way too long. And finally, Owen makes his comeback. Luna hits him with a crutch. Hunter tries a pedigree, but Owen reverses that into a sharpshooter for the win. So that I'm going to count that as a clean finish, because Owen didn't cheat. If I can type good, there we go.
Yeah, it was a clean finish in a match that one of the guys was not himself.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, DX appears on the screen laughing at Owen, calling him a loser and an idiot. Sarge comes out, and DX can see this, so they bury him too. And Sarge says, Goldust did such a great job imitating Hunter, and Owen had signed a sanctioned European Championship contract, and he had beaten Hunter's chosen substitute, so I am awarding Owen the European title. DX won this belt when Shawn won it 6 months ago or more, and since then, they have done nothing but make a joke out of it. Calling it the coveted European title at every opportunity. One of them laid down so the other could just have it. But you take the belt away from them and they are outraged. Furious.
Outraged.
They threw a tantrum.
It was funny because it all made perfect sense. Hunter's hurt. He gets a surrogate. They think they put one over on Owen. The guy in charge comes out. He gives a title to the guy that won the match. I mean, everything about it made perfect sense. It also made perfect sense if you want to just kill a title dead.
Yes.
And get nobody over.
Yes.
It really is amazing to watch this show. Wow, good job, Owen. You beat Goldust to win Hunter's title. That was his big reward for not going to World Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
his brother-in-law paid a 6-figure fucking fine to get out of his contract and go have a match with Mongo. Owen Hart's loyal to the company after they fucked his brother Brett, and this was his reward. He beat Goldust in a costume to win the coveted European title.
This
It's
championship,
mind-blowing.
in hindsight. I know there were some... So Al Snow had some fun with it later, and Angle and D'Lo got to be the Eurocontinental champion, but this championship so far sucks. Sucks so bad. They re-air the Tyson Austin angle again. We had Don King doing a video.
Well, this was funny because WWE got Mike Tyson. And their planned main event was Shawn Michaels versus Steve Austin. And they wanted to do an angle where Mike Tyson was going to be the referee. But Mike Tyson had just bitten a dude's ear off. Rape case. Not a popular guy. Suspended by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So they figure, well, man suspended by the commission. So everybody's going to want to see Mike Tyson versus Steve Austin. But there's no way the Nevada State Athletic Commission would allow that. So we'll do the storyline where they're the heels, and he'll be the referee. So they go to Mark Ratner of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, who in fact had been a pro wrestling fan his whole life. And Ratner's basically like, we don't give a shit. It's pro wrestling.
Yes.
Do whatever the fuck you want. Won't affect his suspension. So, they didn't outright lie, but Don King comes on television and he says, Austin wants Tyson, and Tyson wants Austin. But the NSAC says Tyson can't fight. That's how they got around it. Fight. So they lied.
That is true.
They came on here and they lied.
Because I was looking at my quote here that says, the only thing standing between a Tyson-Austin fight was the NSAC. The word fight.
The word fight is the key.
Yeah.
That was true. But it's bullshit. Now, granted, it was Don King.
Not the first time he's bullshit someone.
No.
Not the last.
What a cartoon.
It's one word for it. So, anyway, King says that he and Vincent Mann will put their heads together. We will figure out some way to get Austin and Tyson in the ring together without violating the rules.
So do you remember a couple of weeks ago where Lawler said something? He may have said something about Tyson and Austin, but he spoiled the surprise. He spoiled the surprise.
Yeah.
Right? Well, he fucks up again here because, as we just made abundantly clear, they very, very specifically said that Tyson was not allowed to fight, which fans are supposed to believe is in a reference to a wrestling match with Steve Austin. So they go back to the announcers, and Jerry Lawler says, man, NSAC, they won't allow Tyson to box. It's like, you fucking idiot.
Well, that's also true.
I mean, it is true, but this isn't a boxing match.
Yeah. So Austin comes out for a show closing promo. It went about 3 minutes.
It was great.
It was great.
It was the best 3 minutes on the whole show by far.
He said what he needed to say and was done. He's pissed. Duh. Promised he would teach Mike Tyson not to mess with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Went on a tirade about how they could fight in his backyard, Tyson's backyard, any fan's backyard. Said he would give Tyson all his contact info so Tyson could let him know when he wanted to fight and Austin would be there.
He even said he'd give him his cell phone number.
And his beeper.
I was like, cell phone? We fucking moved into the modern age.
Yes.
When did that happen?
Well, Paulie dangerously had a cell phone. It was the,
I guess.
2.5 feet long, but he had one.
His was more like a car phone, which I guess is a cell
It
phone.
was the size of a car, yeah. Anyway, he runs down Tyson for a while, threatens to fight Tyson wherever he wants, and knock him out in Houston at WrestleMania, and his music plays and everyone cheers, and that's that. So the final count for Raw, 3 clean finishes, although one of those is debatable, 1 fuck finish, and 3 DQ count out whatever.